get there.
That's how it was, right?
It wasn't that way.
More like give than in the auditorium. All right, you're pretty full house and a full agenda tonight, so let's call this meeting of the Borough West Regional School Committee to order at 6:34. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I don't think there are other public comments.
Public comments?
Public comments?
That's us.
Go ahead. Can we get your names, please? For the record?
My name is Patty Ann Inwood, and I am a fourth grade teacher at Wilson Elementary School, and I'm here with many of my amazing colleagues, and we're representing many more who are unable to make it this evening. So we want to say thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time. I will make this quick and pain-free, mostly. So we wanted to come tonight because we have a small story to tell. It was August 18th. I had just received one of many emails announcing that a beloved coworker had made the decision to go to another district. And I'm not gonna lie, friends, I cried. Did we all cry? We all cried. It was hard. And none of us were sure what it was gonna look like when school started back that first day. But two really amazing things happened. One, everyone who showed up that first day wanted to be there. So give these guys a round of applause. And the other thing that happened was Miss Dawn Marie Bales. So we came in that first day, we didn't know what to expect, but there she was, our new leader. And I'm not gonna lie, it was hard. It was a bit crazy. It was a bit rocky. Our new motto became, it's fine, everything's fine, we're all fine, it's gonna be fine. Because we had a new composition to our staff. There were a lot of new people, including our new principal, that were trying to make their way. But what we came here tonight to tell you was things are indeed fine. And we decided we wanted you to hear from us about how things are going over at Wilson Elementary School. So we have crafted, in the spirit of Report Card Week, our very own principal report card. So we wanted to let you know how we feel Dawn Marie is doing. So, under positive spirits, she gets an A. Under the ability to listen, really listen, she gets an A. Under the ability to get, I gotta tame this one down for the audience. Under the ability to get things done, no matter what it is, whether it's help with the curriculum, room clean, whatever it is, she gets an A+. The ability to think catastrophically, which was a new word for us, but one that we have come to appreciate, and in truth, has created a safer environment at Wilson Elementary School. She gets an A++. Under the ability to tap dance through tricky, sensitive situations, both literally and figuratively, she gets an A++. And most importantly, under being caring and supportive of the staff and the students, she gets an A++++. And we all would like to let you know that you are a pleasure to work with.
Thank you.
Well done, Ms. Dawn.
This can't be good, they're all here.
Well, we just wanted to let you know what a wonderful addition she's been, because you don't always get to hear from us what it looks like on the inside. And we can tell you that if you walk the halls of Wilson Elementary School right now, the people that are still here and that are new to us have created a community unlike any other. And it's warm and positive, and it's going really well. It's really going well. So because it is report card time, we hope you will excuse us because we actually have to get those done next Friday. So thank you, we want to say thank you to all of you as well for doing the hard work on the school committee, we really appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Yeah. That was so nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comments?
So I had a public comment from a community member last month in November. Do you know, Laura, I was sick when it
Yes.
came in? Was that able to be?
Yes, I
aired?
did discuss, I said that we would be addressing it, from Ms. Burns.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
Was there an outcome to that comment, or is that
no, I believe we were gonna be discussing it in our policy meeting, was it discussing? Yeah.
regarding school size?
Yes, class size, yep,
Expansion?
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
we discussed that in the last policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great, all right, thanks. We'll talk more.
Yes, absolutely.
Any public comments? All right, any communications from anyone? There are several emails in the folder for you to look at. You all good? Okay, so next is the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Lori, second.
Second.
Julie? In favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Thank you.
Hi, sorry.
All right.
Trying to do-
And I say six.
I can't
Any
do two of
against?
these at
No? All
Yeah.
right, so, on to our reports. On the report section of the agenda, it's a little different than in the past. I've put some time limits. I want to say they're hard and fast, but if you absolutely need more time, just take more time. But just in the spirit of keeping things moving, I put a few times there. I checked with everybody who's going to speak if those times were enough, so they should be enough. But first up, we have the annual Cape Cod field trip presentation.
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
We're here tonight just to, my name is Peter Doherty, I'm English Department Chair at Taunton Regional High School. I haven't met a couple of you, so I just want to introduce myself. I'm here tonight with Lisa Sequeira, who's a biology teacher and our Science Department Chair, just to ask for permission to resume, once again, our overnight trip to Cape Cod. This year we have it hopefully scheduled for April 29th to May 1st. It's a Saturday to Monday. We had started this overnight program back in 2012, carried it right up through 2019. Then obviously with the pandemic and things. And then also the place we stayed, the Cape Cod Sea Camps closed, so we could no longer stay there. But I found a place in Provincetown, it's a hotel, and she said she could fit us. And so we're here tonight to ask you for permission to resume that trip. We should have, hopefully have a packet with all the details in there that we planned out so far. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Anybody have any questions?
Would you mind, nice to meet you.
Yes.
Would you mind just sharing just a quick summary of what the goal of the trip is?
Yeah, it's an interdisciplinary study, right? To try to pull together all facets of education, specifically with like our seniors, right? Because by that time, we try to culminate everything. As we wrote in our letter to the students, and I mentioned in that article that I think I sent you guys as well, this Ken Cleveland wrote for us back in 2012. You know, so much of our modern education, standardized testing, is that things being disassociated, like we departmentalize everything. This is that opportunity to try to pull things together. And so with our philosophy classes, Steve Pacheco and I teach, this course became a good supplement for both my AP Lit class and Steve's AP Euro and AP US classes. They were able to pull together AP Bio as well. The primary source that we use is Henry Beston's The Outermost House. If you're not familiar with that book, Beston wrote that in 1929. After getting home basically from World War I, he spent the better part of a couple of weeks on Cape Cod there to write an article about the Coast Guard base. And so he spent a couple of weeks there and was like, I need to stay there. He ended up building a house, became National Literary Landmark. Unfortunately, it swept away in the blizzard of '78. But so this book became like the cornerstone.
Right.
And we found out there's so many different ways we could approach this interdisciplinary lines. And so that's the foundation for this trip. So we bring our AP Bio, AP Lit, Nature Being students will be on this trip. In the past, we've included AP Chem and Independent Art, but the classes started getting a little too big, and because we had to stop the overnight trips, we're gonna go back to that first trip, which was 10 years ago, last weekend in November, first weekend in December. was freezing. We stayed at the Coast Guard station there on Coast Guard Beach in Eastham, which was a wonderful opportunity, but right again, after that first year, they closed the building, so it's like, where do we go now? So that was the impetus behind it. And so it was, and we have great opportunities to meet with some great organizations. The Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that group. They are there to raise awareness for the increasing white shark population on the Cape Cod. And we were the first school that actually reached out to them when they started. And so we have a great working relationship with them. So they present to our students every year. We're going to work with the Center for Coastal Studies this year as well.
This year, we've worked with the Audubon Society, just, a lot of resources. We've worked with the Salt Pond Visitor Center and the resources that they have there. So we have a pretty extensive network in the area.
Yeah, it's not,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a wonderful, and we really would like to expand it to Woods Hole, which has tremendous opportunity. And they're actually looking to connect with school groups. So I'm really excited about that.
and we tell the kids, this is not like we're going down to have a vacation. You're going to be up early in the morning, you're out in all types of weather, so be ready for that. They're busy from sun up to sundown. And we do a home cooked meal, make the kids cook and clean and all that stuff, so. They do. Yeah, a little bit. Bonfires at the beach at night.
How many students do you have?
This year will be, if all of them go, will be 27. We've had, the smallest group was our first year, it was 21. Our largest group was 50, that was 2 minutes. Yeah, that was the year we tried. The C camps, again, could accommodate us. If you're not used to C camps, it was a.
Management, that was difficult.
That was a tough one, so we scaled that one back. So we typically are in that 30 kid range.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's a wonderful group to work with. We have, intimate conversations, we hold group conversations. There's a lot of learning, a lot of exposure. Students often have opportunities to go back and work with, scientists after the fact, which has been, a wonderful opportunity. With Atlantic White Shark Conservancy.
You've been a tremendous resource for our kids. They're incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, not a question, but a comment. I did something similar in high school in an AP bio class. It was in Rhode Island. We went to URI and stayed at a house. I still remember it. It was one of the best experiences. I was a junior. It ended up being all girls. There was only 10 students, but it was amazing. Not just learning, like you said, classroom material, but just learning how to almost be a human in the world, being away from home. So I think that's just unbelievable experience that you guys are willing to do that. I know it's your time, so thank you. I think it's awesome.
John has a comment.
Real quickly, just as the parent of a student who went last year, because a lot of times adults will say these wonderful things, we can hear them, but it's just the adults talking. I can tell you for my child and all of his friends, it was the most significant experience they had in their time at Tom. I was in the hospital, half dead, Jackson Beach, the outermost house. Damn, God, read his book. And then he could sit because of what they were doing in class, but he could talk about this stuff. As could his friends who came to the house to entertain me in my illnesses. It was amazing. And then the one thing I really wanted to share was, and I shared this with Mr. Dory recently, Jack's class, several of them gathered together right before they all went off to their different colleges to go back to the show, to remember that experience. And, they promised each other that they'll keep doing that, and it's all because of that experience. It's
Awesome.
truly life-changing for a lot of children, and it's so delighted that it continues to grow. I had time.
Yeah.
I know we had the schedule.
What was the name of that book?
The
Outermost
outermost
house.
Outermost.
I want to read it now.
Oh my gosh.
Reading
No,
it.
I'm like, I don't read this book.
It's so
How much spare time?
It's poetic.
There's there are some, I have quotes on my wall, and sometimes I'm like, with the students, I'm like, okay, just listen to this. It's really, it's really powerful. So, yeah, good for you guys. It's great.
Any other questions or comments?
So this is on our list of items to vote on, but I think if we should probably move that up to vote on that now instead of waiting
Yeah,
for the next hour and a half. So I'm gonna suggest we move item H from the business items and vote on that now. So can I have a motion to approve the annual Cape Cod field trip?
So,
All right, Julie, second, Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes? All right, passes approved.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right, Ms. McCarroll and Ms. Logan on Unified Sports presentation.
Yes, we've been looking at get unified sports here to Toronto for, well, been talking about it for a few years now. Again, just before the pandemic hit, and then as we've come out of it, and I've been discussing with Diane last year, and then as she retired, kind of got thrown on the back burner a little bit. But as the year went through, we found that there's a program that would actually fit pretty well for us here at Tohoto this year. And if we could get into it, it's, well, let me give a quick rundown of what that would be.
So it's called the Unified Strength and Conditioning Team. It's all at Tohoto, and you track your progress throughout, so it'll be about 6 weeks. And it's a set of exercises that students will compete in, and it's students of all abilities to promote inclusion and acceptance and friendships between students who may not have classes together, who may not, sit together at lunch. And it's an after-school program. It'll be about an hour after school, like I said, for 6 weeks. And it's just a great opportunity that's very much needed at Tohoto.
I mean, the other schools in the area, most schools in our area are, the experiences that they're having with this through like unified basketball and unified track is just amazing. Everybody getting together and gathering around and getting it's pretty cool. It's like really good. It's going to be really good for the school. And just this opportunity, we're not sure if we have enough kids interested to necessarily get into track or what you need, but this would be an opportunity to start getting more people interested in to start doing it for future years, that we can bring something else here.
Just a question. Can you say a bit about what it means to be unified sports? That's a new phrase for me.
Yeah, so it's through Special Olympics. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's throughout school. So it's called like a Unified Champion School. So students with and without disabilities will compete together, on the same team for one cause, to make friendships, to improve, your fitness and confidence. And so that's the unified aspect, is that you're unifying people for, this one cause.
Sure.
Are there specific, they train specifically in certain categories?
Yeah, so there's a whole list of these exercises you can choose, and students will choose 7 exercises. And throughout the 6 weeks, they'll track their progress. So we'll take a baseline, we'll take a mid-season, where have you improved here, and then an end of season. So, they're also doing some math, like calculating their averages, working together to, see, oh wow, I did 3 more push-ups this time around. And it's also something they can practice at home. So, you're creating friendships, but you're also, getting healthy and active and like bringing it home. Like, oh wow, this is what I'm doing at school. So it's, a great thing for all kids,
I love it. Is it on body weight or do you use weights?
So it sort of depends on where it's at, and I really there's modifications to all the exercises, so you're meeting the students where they're at. So if a student has, some limited mobility, there's exercises for that student. So one could be, it's like going back and forth between cones, it's sitting in a chair and tapping the floor, it's a plank, but you could also do a plank on your knees. It's what works for that student. So not every student is doing the same exercise, but you can, you have the opportunity to select the exercises you're most comfortable with.
And who writes the programming for them?
So it's through Special Olympics.
Oh, so
actually.
they send you sets?
Yeah, so I actually have the whole packet of all of the exercises to choose from. I met with the woman who runs Special Olympics, Kathy Lutz, and she had a lot of great information for Matt and I. So that was, she's very helpful. There's just a lot of information online, and like Matt was saying, it's a nice segue into hopefully something in the future, like a unified basketball team, or there's like a bocce tournament that they do, so.
Yeah.
It's just nice, it's nice for all the students who might not have the same, opportunities to participate in these sports that they may want.
And at the end of it too, on the last time when you see how you did or how you progressed, you want to try and get people in to cheer them on. That's, similar to how a unified basketball game would be, or to a unified track event to have, we might even bring some of that stuff right into the gym. You have, bring who to get in and come to watch.
And did you say a 6-week program?
Yeah, it's 6 to 8 weeks,
Okay.
depending on, the school and what we're able to do. But
Sure.
it's like January to March,
Okay.
the dates.
And then that's it for the year, or do you run it a couple of times throughout the year?
That's it for the unified
Okay.
strength and conditioning, but there's other opportunities for unified sports, but we're hoping that this is the first one to hopefully do more in the future. If there's like a turnout, if we have support and everything.
This is my last question.
Oh, yeah.
This is just my field, so I'm just asking
Yeah.
questions. Is this a training happens once a week, or do you do every other day with these athletes?
So it runs once or twice a week.
Once or twice a week?
Again, depending on, availability, because we do need a nurse.
Yeah.
So that's like a big thing. But yeah, it's once or twice a week
Okay. Why do you need a nurse?
for students who need nursing on site.
Some students might need to have the nurse on site with them. I mean, it depends on who's competing
Oh, okay.
on it. It's not like it isn't necessarily nurses needed, it's just depending on.
Okay. Like you would for like, someone on the lacrosse team, no lacrosse, field hockey team, we can.
Yeah, exactly. It might differ from year to year. Like one year we might need, a paraprofessional or one-to-one
Got it.
support, but for this particular season, we will need a nurse.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's a great idea. Sounds awesome.
Thanks, yeah, we're excited.
Yeah.
Does the program stay within the school?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is strictly
It's all
home.
within.
Right, so we don't have to go
You'll get,
anywhere.
and you'll get they go with the other schools, kind of like competing, but to see how you improve to how other schools.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there, I don't see anything on the agenda to vote or approve for this, but that could have just been an oversight. Is there something we need to vote to approve this tonight? Is there a cost with it? Yeah. All right,
Yes,
it didn't make it into the business section, but we have a motion to approve a motion to approve the unified sports program. Nathan, Jess,
Second.
Bob, second. Jess moves.
I moved
Second.
it, I second before it was moved.
All right, Jess and Bob, yes, discussion.
Just to have to ask, this become a budget item, is there a budget estimate of what it would cost? Before we vote?
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
So Matt, Carol, and I actually spoke today. There's a grant that they applied for $500. The other aspects, we can cover. There's a coach that, what I forgot what sport it was.
We didn't use a coach's stipend this year.
Yeah, there's a coach that wasn't used, so we can use that towards it.
So you think you've got it covered?
Yes.
Cool.
And the parents are picking up, so transportation is a part of it.
Awesome.
Will you train in the weight room, or sort of where this,
You said that was your last.
I'm
one.
sorry.
Julie is so excited about that.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm thinking, well, it depends on like gym availability, but we will go to the weight room and I don't know if we need to run back and forth between cones. And it's nice out, we'll go outside or we'll go to the, I don't know, cafeteria, like there's space,
Yeah.
so we'll just.
Can I ask a question? If we okay this, like, is it just for this particular program that we're okaying it, or for this to move forward in other ways as well that might be costs associated with it?
I think this would be first just for this, and then we move on to see what we could go for the future in that.
So it's a trial run.
Right, trial run, yeah, see how it does, and, if we could get more interest, it's gotta be something we would need to do for different sports in the future, come back, we'll be able to continue to do this, but for different ones too.
Kind of dipping your toe in a little bit.
Any other discussion questions? Julie, you can ask another one.
No, I'll just email you, no, it's a great idea, I really do. I love strength and conditioning, so it's very expensive.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Passes approved. Thank you. Next is Caroline. Do you have any student body update you want to do?
Yes, I do. Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm a current senior at Tohoto. And just some things I've been hearing. I know a lot of kids are actually very excited about this school year because we're finally able to get back to some, like field trips and stuff like that. Like I know, especially in the seniors, there's all a buzz about the K field trip. And I know, I think some kids from the technology classes are going on a field trip this Friday or something, I heard. But a lot of kids are very excited about that. So that's been a very positive thing I've been hearing. One thing I know that I'm hoping will bring some cheer is there's Deck the Halls going on, which is where the grades decorate all the hallways with their grade color for Spirit Week. And that usually brings a lot of cheer. So I'm excited about that. One thing I have been hearing is some concern about winter this time of year, specifically about snow days and stuff. Sorry for saying stuff, but I know, especially I've been talking to a lot of seniors who are new drivers, and they're a little concerned that there might be some kind of pushback on having more snow days. I think people are just concerned with icy roads and new drivers, how that might, react. So I think I've just been hearing from not even just seniors, but other people just, to maybe take some more, on the more proactive side when it comes to, snow days and with the ice and stuff, then be on more of the reactive side. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been hearing. And I'm not sure any of the, legalities or procedures that go with that, but that's just what I've been hearing is the main concern from a lot of people. But thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no. Caroline, I do want, since I just walked through this for the first time on Monday, we were all prepared in case we did have a delay. We anticipated a 2-hour delay, but the superintendent talks with the highway departments in both towns as early as 4:45. And we were fortunate that both individuals are very, very proactive about ensuring that the roadways are safe, not only the main roads, but the side roads, because buses have to get up and down those as well. So I trust what they're saying when they tell us that it's okay to go. And I am concerned about that because I do think about those, particularly, like you said, the new drivers, the young students on the road, and that's our first concern. So we're doing our best to be mindful of that. I know we have another storm possibly coming up Thursday into Friday, so we'll probably be already talking to each other on Thursday to keep an eye out on that storm, but we'll do everything we can to keep
Okay, thank you, yeah.
safe.
It's good to hear.
Yeah, so I learned a whole new process
Yes.
Sunday. So, yeah, we're good.
Can I ask one question, Caroline?
Yeah.
Thank you. I love that you come and you report on what the students have to say. I think that's so great. The Deck the Hall sounds so fun.
Yes.
So when is that?
It's usually I would say, I think it's the Friday before school, just so there's a couple of days or something, before the break where it's just kind of decorated. And I know it happens, I think it's run by student council. It's next week? Okay. So yeah, I think it's next week, and then, the people from the different grades, they bring in their own stuff, and they just, decorate it all up, and then people kind of have that little bit of holiday cheer before they leave.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Good. Good. I asked you to just stick around for a minute, so I just want to take a minute before we get into the rest of the meeting. As we come into the end of the year, just congratulate all, not just the student athletes, but all the performers that had any sort of competition or performance in the fall, especially the football team, of course, winning the Super Bowl. So, that was incredible. I know there was a parade on Saturday. I think we went, right? That was really cool. So good stuff. Congratulations. And Matt, you know, just pass along the committees. Congratulations and thanks to all the coaches. All
Thank you.
That's all I was just you gotta go. All right, so moving on to the chair's statement. That was my statement.
Nice. You did good, 20 minutes, thanks, bro.
Well, hey, you know, you got a plan, right? So some committee appointments. So this is something that I just want to reaffirm after the election with everybody here. So budget, facilities, and safety, that's going to stay with Megan and Julie. Megan will be the chair. That's cool with you guys. Student success and technology, I'll stay the chair there with Bob and add Jessica if you'd like to be on that one. All right. And then for the next two, we're going to rename the policy and school committee effectiveness to policy, personnel, negotiations, and school committee effectiveness. With Lori still the chair, myself and Bob on that as members. And same thing, renaming personnel, negotiations, and superintendent evaluation to just the superintendent evaluation, because that's a fairly large job there. And again, Lori is going to remain chair with Megan and Jess, if you want to be on that as well. All right, that takes care of that. Next is a discussion on our school committee meetings calendar dates and possibly changing the day, the week, and month that falls on. Paul, if you want to discuss anything?
Sure, yeah. So I think historically, the school committee meetings have been on Tuesday nights. I just have an ongoing personal scheduling conflict that makes Tuesday nights very hard and not incredibly sustainable. And I don't think there's anything magical about Tuesday nights, but I don't want to create inconvenience for people. So I had asked that we at least float a discussion of potentially moving the school committee meetings to another night other than Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday.
So the only thing
primetime TV anymore.
Yes. The only thing we need to consider, which is why I didn't put it as a vote tonight, is the entire calendar for everybody else. It's not just 6 people in the committee, it's everybody else in the room here. It's other meetings with the towns. Mondays are probably no good. I would never go to have a meeting on Monday or Friday, period.
Well, select board is on Monday.
Right. So there's a lot of other meetings that like Carol might have to attend, or might have to attend, or they might want to attend this meeting or something like that. So there's everybody here in the room. There's the recording secretary has to kind of weigh in on this. It's been scheduled through the end of the year. It's a tough thing. I don't know. Does anybody have anything to say?
So I emailed Don Porter, the clerk of Boylston, so it seems like Monday's a popular day, Thursday is historical commission. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for some other committees, so I know.
Yeah, similar problem too.
So I wouldn't be opposed to a Thursday. Wednesday would be more challenging, in some weeks if we're throwing days a week out.
Yeah. Anybody?
Thursday would be really hard for me.
Yeah, I love stuff on Thursdays too. This affects you guys too, so if you have any opinions. I think maybe the best thing to do is maybe take the idea back and look at your calendars for the rest of the year. And then in January, at least, I think it's too soon to change anything in January, probably February to budget stuff that's going on. But we can maybe go back, look at our calendars and see, and then maybe discuss it again in January, so we're going to be a good day.
We need a month to look at our calendars.
Yeah, with it being the end of the year, the winter break, everybody's probably got things already pretty hard to schedule, but
So we have 1 school committee meeting in January and 2 in
February.
February.
What is February governance, Jean? We have,
That's
is the
The
budget,
regular and then the final.
The last one is budget.
and they're close together because isn't vacation?
Vacations in
I think
between.
they're probably, it's the 7th and then the 28th.
Yeah, it's actually the first Tuesday
Oh,
of the month,
it's
is the last Tuesday.
And then this, the school break.
Oh, so it's the week after school break, so it's almost in March. I'm open to any other day of the week as long as I have advance notice, and I don't have, I schedule it a month at a time, so if we made the change in January for whatever. Understandable if the budget's already set in stone for February, but I'm flexible. But I agree Monday's probably not good.
Yeah, I would do Monday because it's like.
And the select board and all the town, the Boylston Town Hall is open 6 to 8, so that's.
As far as like changing a date, there is no magic to the Tuesday, right? Was there? Is there any reason it's on Tuesday? No. It's just been always, how long has it been on Tuesday? Never.
Quite some time, but it was on another.
It was on Wednesday for a while.
Yeah.
So
It used to
what's
be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday when we were 3 districts.
right,
That was.
Yeah.
but it was different school committees, didn't they have a school committee in Boylston,
It
one
was-
in Berlin, and then they probably.
But it was the same, it was the 3 from Berlin, 3 from Boylston, and then the 6 would get together. It was the same.
So yeah, I'm certainly not opposed to changing because I think when, members come on the committee and there is a scheduling issue, I think we have to be able to draft it.
Yeah, I think one-off changes in times and stuff as things come up and
Yeah.
people's lives.
So it's Wednesday or Thursday, so are you,
Yeah, I'd be
I mean, my
strongly-
schedule is just size for.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
so it's like as long as you know ahead of time,
As
right?
long as, yeah, I'll make it work. You know.
I think later in the week is probably not a great idea, just because it was kind of drained, right?
Thursdays.
Really?
Well, Thursday is PTO and BEF meetings, so
Okay, yeah.
that might be,
That'd be tough.
Yeah, but that's once a month.
it is, but then we have to make sure we're not doing the same, because PTO and BEF meet on different ones, and the town council BEF, I don't know, but I'm just saying for the principals.
Not just PTO, it's Monday.
Oh, they meet on Mondays, okay. Oh, what does Berlin PTO mean? Thursdays, yeah, Thursday is the elementary PTO, so I'm sure Mrs. Ailes, I'm sure you in and out of those. So, yeah, maybe
I'm not
Wednesday.
opposed to it.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to either, but I'm just saying, if we're gonna make a change. But I don't know, Jessica, is it your work schedule or are you have other?
I usually only work till 6, so it would, so.
So Wednesday would be tough for
Yeah.
Jessica
But
and Laurie. Yeah, no, I do think Thursday might be tough, is.
Thursdays are pretty impossible.
It is
Oh,
Thursday.
right, so you guys, yeah,
Oh,
no,
oh,
can't.
okay.
So,
I mean, the other idea, it's not ideal, is you flip flop Wednesdays and Thursdays, and then 1 week it works for some person, one time it works for, and then you just make it work.
could do every other month, so you're on every other
Or
month.
even every.
The other option is, if we've got 6 more months of meetings this year, we got to book for next year's calendar. We can change it then as well. Because this year's been scheduled, planned, everything's been planned around it. It's just an option.
This committee's not afraid of a little change though, right?
What's that?
This committee's never been afraid of change.
No,
No.
it's just, it's got to work for everybody. So,
Yeah,
do you want to maybe figure out the principals, dates that will work, and then we'll come back?
So can we discuss it in the meeting then?
Yeah, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. You know, it's on the agenda for January.
So why don't principals or do you want them to email you privately, that way nobody else
Yeah,
can
we'll,
discuss their.
Carol,
like,
yeah, Carol will talk to principals.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Carol.
So we don't have to have an hour-long conversation about it, just now. Just
Just get
email
up
ahead
there,
of
just
time.
all see our calendars. All right,
Yeah. Appreciate the consideration.
all right. Subcommittee reports. Megan, do you have anything to report on budget?
So we had a wonderful meeting, last week with Nancy and Carol. And pretty much we discussed everything that Nancy is going to present tonight. So I do not wanna divulge any details. One thing I will say that we, at the end of our meeting, we did talk about the cell tower, or the cell service at Tohoto. Just for any parents listening, I know this is a huge concern, it's become a safety issue. We are working on it. Paul has let us know that it's probably something we have to work with the town of Boylston. But I think the best way to get service at Tohoto is to get a cell tower. If we can get a cell tower somewhere near the building. So we just have to kind of figure out if that's even possible, but it would be probably through the town of Boylston. So I've actually reached out to somebody in the town of Boylston. We'll go from there. Otherwise, we discussed the budget, and I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of Julie and I, for all of the hard work that went into this budget. I think it's wonderful. I'm very excited to hear the presentation tonight, and not just thank you to you guys, thank you to all of you for for putting forward all the requests. And I am so excited about this because it's gonna be amazing for these kids and the teachers. So thank you all for all your hard work and making our vision hopefully some type of a reality.
Student success and technology, we have a meeting scheduled for December 8th, but scheduled conference that was canceled, so there's no updates there. But what I am going to do is sort of assign to that committee to work on a plan with Carol on the district improvement plan, on just how to communicate that, how to push that, kind of like a marketing type of project or discussion for the next meeting. Policy, Lori.
So I apologize, my report was in the drive, but it's not there anymore, so I'm just gonna go off my minutes. I would like to send it out, I'll have someone send it out to you, because there are action items on there. We did go through, the August newsletter. Yeah, see, I apologize, can you go on to somebody else, Mike? It was in here and it's gone.
Yeah, I noticed a few things going too.
Yeah.
Only businesses.
Yeah, strange.
So so should I submit, this is kind of, so should I submit a report and put it in the drive?
No, I
Is there
think she
any
just has, I think she just has so much stuff to.
All right, I was gonna say, are these just like quick updates or?
You did the minutes, so that's good. Yeah, they're just quick updates, but I think some of the stuff there, I think was about some of the votes we've got coming up later tonight, so we'll discuss them then.
The August newsletter was long.
Was really long.
And personnel negotiations and superintendent evaluation, I don't think there's a report for that right now. Is
So there's
that-
nothing going on right now.
No, I don't
Thank
think
you,
so.
no.
All right. That brings us up to the MCAS reports. All right, ready?
While Mr. Doherty's getting set up, let me just kind of chime in for a second. He and I started talking about this topic last summer, and he's been just a font of information. He has a way with data that very few people have. And our goal with this committee is to kind of get into a place where the numbers make sense in the big picture. And we're going to continue to talk about this over the next several months. What is it, January is the actual MCAS report. Those reports will be based on some of the things that, Mr. Doherty's going to talk about tonight. But it's wonderful that we're in a place on this committee where people are really digging into how things are, how things have been going, and where we go.
That's perfect.
That's my 2 cents.
No, that was
Pretty good, huh? And no actual work on my part.
Camera adjusted on for Mr. Doherty, the basketball.
No, it's totally fine. No one needs to see this.
Maybe on the slides.
Do you want me to turn more up, or do you want me to?
No, that's fine. That's fine. So, as John was saying, tonight we just wanted to introduce to you what our presentation in January will be about, really, because there's so much data that's available to us, way more than just achievement. Achievement is usually what people go to and they look at that and they want to do all these, where's the school? But that's just such a small portion of what we're actually looking at. It doesn't always necessarily accurately portray how our district is doing. So it's important that we're all on the same page, looking at the same information and coming to the same conclusions. For instance, we look at this chart, right? Very simple. What do we say? What pops out to you? Anything.
And you guys are supposed to answer.
Yeah, this is where you, like my students, I'll stare at you until you give me an answer. I'm very good at this. I'm doing it a long time. What, my God?
Is this for all grades and schools in the district?
This is just the biology test.
This is last year's.
Last year's, like, what do you see?
I see a lot of people meeting expectations in the district, far above the state.
What about these two? What do you notice?
They're lower.
Which one would you want us to be?
Us.
This one
The
or this
district.
one?
I'd say,
No, we want to be the bottom one.
Bottom one.
Right? The thing is, we're both.
Yeah, so what's the
So
difference?
this is what I'm getting, right?
Advanced, so it's just
This-
the way they're doing the scale.
Exactly. And what's happened, and it's just happened recently, is the state has taken the goalposts and they've done this. They've moved them. And they have a whole new way of assessing kids. These are two different graphs. Same students, same test, same results. And it's this year's biology, it's lacking, the 2022 biology exam, just graded differently. And so automatically, sometimes people who aren't, they're just looking at this, they're like, what happened? Why did we drop? We're used to seeing charts like this, where we have, over 40, almost 50% of our students in the advanced category. But now you look at the top one, it's only about 18%. What happened? Why the drop? School's not doing them. That's just not the case. What's happening is the state is changing how things are graded. Biology was the most recent example. They changed math and English in 2019. 2018 was when it changed. I have a slide on that coming up in a minute. And I just wanted to start with this, let everybody know it's like things are changing in the state, the way they're assessing us, the way they're grading us, the scales they're applying to us. So things do not look the same as they did 5 years ago, 4 years ago, a year ago. But we're still doing approximately the same as we've always done. It's just a question of how it's now being graded and presented. Does that make sense?
So what the bottom is how it's being graded.
This is,
now.
see what this is. This is what they call the legacy test. This is the next gen test. This is the legacy scoring. This is the next gen scoring. So with biology, the kids took the same exact test. Was it online or was it paper and pencil still?
Yep.
It's all online.
Yep.
So, but they graded it both ways. So you can see the differences in the old way of scoring things and the new way of scoring things.
And they actually had a very difficult time. The reports came through much, much later.
Yeah, this year.
They actually didn't know what to do with the data. They were kind of scrambling. It took a long time for them to roll out. And because it is as math and ELA, it is a requirement, a graduation requirement, they had to figure out what they were going to do, the determination for competency. What is that going to look like? So there's some overlap and there's some pulling at the edges, so that this new grading is not going to be impacting students' ability to reach the goal of graduation.
So Lisa, I'm glad you brought that up, because typically speaking, we'll get curriculum analysis, how our students did, usually by like the end of June, we get raw scores. So I start doing my analysis June, July, through the summers. This year, we didn't get anything to the very end of August, beginning of September, and we're trying to get information to our staffs to look at, curriculum, and the state was just delayed this year putting things out. So it's just part of this that we need to communicate with everybody, so everybody knows where we're coming from, what's going on with this information.
Wait, so do you know why they changed it? I mean, it's just troubling. It's like they're making kids look worse than before. Is this because people are getting MCAS scholarships? Like, is this a money thing, or is this, they're saying, no, the students, our expectations are growing, they actually need to do better. Like, what, do you have any idea what's driving the reason?
Riley came out, Commissioner Riley came out and spoke to that. And they were saying that our standards were good, but they need to be better. We're not reaching a certain population of students. We need to bring get their results higher, because then that has a greater implication on how they do in college afterwards. And so they're making all that argument. They just happen to impose all this stuff, like literally as we're coming out of the pandemic and now dealing with all the other things we're dealing with. The social emotional piece is a huge piece.
Yeah.
That people just don't really truly understand the impact of that more than anything else, and how that's affecting learning.
Is this grading system or scoring system used or conveying results to students in this manner, or is this just for?
No, it is. So this information, the district, this goes to towns. This is the stuff that came out on the website, I think back in October, right? It's usually just the achievement data. how did we do? And, one of the things that can happen too is people want to look, how did we do in years past? Okay, for instance, this is the 10th grade. I pretty much pulled everything just from ELA because it's stuff that I know. This is the data I'm in. So this is how 10th grade did in 2016, 2017, 2018. Okay, so we're looking at Tohoto students. 74% of our students are in the advanced category, 25%. So we're doing pretty well. And then I get the 2019 results, and I'm literally, my first comment was, what happened?
That's crazy.
Like, did I stop learning how to teach in 1 year? And so that was the year that I really started looking, all right, what happened with the state? Literally, we moved the goalposts.
Do you have clarification on quantitatively what's changed such that
Yes.
results that would have landed in the advanced now land in median?
That's on one of my last slides, and I provided a bunch of links. That's why I gave you that stuff. Hopefully, I think I gave it to you last Tuesday to look at. I'm not sure if anybody got a chance to look through this stuff. But again, we'll get more detailed in this in January. Today is more just to let you know where we're coming from and the different types of reports. Like, if we only look at achievement analysis, it's easy to see the school's not doing as well as it did the year before. If we only look at that, we can come to a lot of bad conclusions. So changes in state testing since 2014. The ELA standards changed in 2011, again in 2017. I'm not quite sure on math and biology, but Francine will get into. This is from a slide presentation that I did back in 2019. 2019 was the first year for next gen MCAS exam for grade 10. First year to test the 2017 standards. The legacy MCAS was from 99 to 2018, so Jess would have taken this test. Grades 3 through 8 have taken next gen since 2017. Testing on the 2017 standards started in 2018. Grades 3 through 8 took a PARC exam in 2015 and 2016, and that screwed up a whole bunch of stuff. We won't go there. And all grades took the legacy MCAS prior to 2015. So these are just some of the changes that have happened, and there are more changes to come, and I'll get into that in a minute. So that's something else we want to talk about is the state's constantly changing things. So it's really important that we're aware of that. So then when we're looking at data, we have that in mind that things now are going to be very different in 2 or 3 years, John. So the class of 2026, this year's freshmen, the graduation requirements are going to increase, and the current fourth graders, they're going to go up even higher after that. So it's going to be more difficult for students to graduate high school, starting with a freshman, and again, even more difficult for the current fourth graders.
That's confusing to me. Can we pause there?
Yeah, sure.
So
I'll jump right to that slide if you want.
I guess I might have made a bad assumption, which is that the scores are the scores. We're just dropping them in different buckets.
Yes, but they're also changing the buckets levels.
The expectations.
Right. So this slide, which is the last one I have here, I had to put this together based on a couple of different pieces of information the state gave us, because the state doesn't have something like this. They have it in 2 different places, and you have to kind of put it together. I was like, I can't do that, so I made my own chart.
Thank you.
Next gen achievement level classes, 23 to 25. If you score in this category, you're not meeting expectations. These categories partially meeting, and these are meeting expectations and exceeding expectations. Well, the old test, okay, the legacy test. You can see this was just a small area, would have been failing. This area would have been needs improvement. This area was proficient, and this area was advanced. Okay, so what used to be advanced is now meeting. And it's a very, very small percentage of students who are going to get here. As far as raw score is concerned, I'll pull that chart up for you in a minute. I think on the English test, they have to be within 5 points of getting a perfect score to be considered exceeding. It's a tiny, tiny window that kids are now in the exceeding category. So this is our current, where kids will currently be, as opposed to how things used to be, okay? Whether or not students pass high school, if they score in this category, they did not pass the exam, therefore they have to continue to take the exam until they pass. If they're in this area, they are considered passed, but they have to be put on an educational proficiency plan, which is the district that gets together to say, all right, what do we do to ensure that the students have met proficiency levels by the time they graduate? Each district gets to determine that on their own. So if students in that area, that's what they have to do, and this is considered passed. Well, you can see from classes of 2026 through 2030, things are changing again. Okay? The whole did not pass is now a bigger area. This is a smaller area here, pass will still be. And then it changes again for class of 2031 and beyond. So this is where we're headed. So we have to make sure we're all on the same page, we're looking at our curriculum, we're talking 12th grade to kindergarten, having that conversation, because what the third grade teachers are doing now is going to impact what I'm doing in 10th grade. So that conversation is happening. I think we're having good conversations about that now. And so we're heading in the right place, but that's the stuff we're going to need to make sure that those current 4th graders are hitting these marks. And it's going to be more difficult for them than the current seniors, current juniors, even current sophomores.
I'd love to see the scale, like from when we were in high school. I remember taking the MCAS, I think it came out back right when I didn't take all of them, I remember taking them towards the end. But it was like a pass, fail type thing. I guess I'm just wondering, like 20 years ago, what was considered pass versus not pass?
Right here.
Okay, is that?
This is a raw, it's on one of the links to that. I put a link in there too. This is the raw to scaled score chart that the state gave to us. And then I added these things over here just to give myself a better visual of how things are changing. So you can see, here's the old MCAS. If you were in these scores, you were considered failing. These scores needs improvement. And it's all based on the percentage of raw points that you get.
Oh, yeah.
Like the English test is based on 51 points, the current test. The former test used to be 72, but that was because they had a couple of different essays. And we changed the test entirely with the English test as well. So that lets you know over here what's considered not passing, passing required EPP, what was passed. And if I scroll down.
So essentially, less people are passing now.
Correct.
Because of how they changed the scale. Which just makes more sense.
What's your opinion? Is this a good thing, a bad thing?
Yeah.
What? I have no problem with standards increasing and asking more of our kids, but let's be realistic too about what we expect. Because high school should be more than this.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like we could become an MCAS prep school. I hope to God we never do. Because that's just looking at, this is one test for English, it's 2 days. Kids sitting there. Have any of you taken a practice test? Sure. See, this is why I wanted to do like a full executive session. I was gonna make you take the 10th grade practice test.
Yeah.
To sit there and type out the essays that the kids have to type out. They have to write 3 essays in 2 days based on reading. It's not easy. And then that's sophomores. Imagine a 3rd grader sitting there trying to type into the stuff.
One figure.
One.
And what if you're like sick or not, have an off day? I mean, like I thought colleges were going through, like moving away from SATs and standardized tests. So just the heavy emphasis on this standardized test, it just makes no sense to me.
Right.
I'm lost.
Is the emphasis on the test changing, or we're just moving the bar and changing what it takes to achieve a certain label? So, just curious, if a student can learn, let's just say anything from 0 to 100 in their academic experience, right? 100 being the most, to oversimplify. Let's say a student learns 70% of their potential. That will send them off into the world prepared at a certain level. It comes with a label, right? Meeting expectations, partially exceeding, whatever the label is. In your opinions, how impactful is the label as compared to what they're taking away from their academic experience?
Let me go first on the elementary.
Yeah, I have to choose my words carefully.
You understand?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of labels, I'm not a big fan of tests. It's just, the reality is this has been, this is my 30th year of teaching, 27 at the Honto, and 25 of them have been dedicated to this exam. And I would rather be doing anything else than that. Does that make sense? Sure.
Sure.
I understand the need for standardization and making sure students are hitting the benchmarks and doing those things. We have to have that. We have to have rigor, obviously. We want our students to be the best. We want our students to go off to school after this and succeed. Is this the best indicator for success? That's up for debate. I think it helps, but I think there's way more to a child's education than this. That's why I try not to get caught up in what are the scores this year, how are they last year, and the school's failing. That leads us to a place that causes animosity, and distrust, and pointing fingers, and that's not what's best for our kids. Because then the teachers feel it, and then that is not a healthy environment, in my opinion.
The other side of this, not the other side, but the other piece to this, especially, this test was designed, these tests, not just the high school test, but the bulk of MCAS testing is elementary, middle, 3 through 8. And the original intents were good. They looked at how we were performing, how we were getting our students ready for college and careers. And you could see, if you looked at the big picture, certain places were doing it very well. Certain places were doing it less well. Certain places were just like doing whatever they damn well pleased. And that was a problem. And so they wanted to do something, identifying specific standards at each grade level. And all of that happened with that reform. It started there and moved on. So that we could start to say, all right, in mathematics, we are strong in numbers and operation, but our kids need some help in geometry. And when you looked at it, big picture, and big subject, it became productive. I was a new teacher the second year they gave the 6th grade MCAS test. And I can remember sitting with my teaching team, not brand new, but the English teachers and the science teachers and the math, we all dug into this, and they had fabulous discussions. When we get lost, like Mr. Doherty is saying, in Fishner in Advance, Meets or Exceed, some of that's just, I was gonna say, an inappropriate word, not worthwhile. Yes, read my mind. Not worth, it's not worth the discussion. But, and we have had this experience, we'll sit down and talk about how my kids come to the middle school. And how prepared are they or are they not? And what one of the data points is, how do they do on these tests? They're standard. Everybody takes it the same way, at the same time, with the same questions. You see how we're going to do.
Right.
And then middle and high school can have that same kind of discussion, because we're talking apples and apples. Is it a perfect measure? No. Does it ever indicate the quality of the child? Never. And we tell Berlin, the kids laugh. It's just do your best, just do your best. We never had practice tests. We don't do MCAS prep. We just learn. That's what we're there to do. And I think that's where we want to take this, away from the silly, meets, exceeds, advanced, proficient. Are we doing our job for kids? You know, when we come to you and we say we need money for X, Y, and Z, part of our rationale is going to be, we need it because of this. When we talk about rocket math is on the budget, it's like, it's not huge money, but it's like $7,000. But why do we need it? Because our kids aren't fluent in math facts. And that's going to help them be more proficient learners. We know that they're not proficient because we watch them on the MCAS test. But our response is a deeper, student-centered kind of response. It's the same thing with typing. I shared this with you guys a couple months ago. I realized finally they were getting terrible scores because they can't capitalize letters. Those are the kinds of things that we do get. But when we get lost, and Mr. Doherty and I totally agree with this, when we get lost in the numbers and meets and exceeds, and we define ourselves that way, we're just wasting time.
Yes.
So John, Carol, maybe, how is this all going to fit into our new plan, your idea for the portrait of the graduate, right? It sounds like what you're talking about is more a picture of how the kid is learning, not necessarily how they're scoring. Scoring is important for colleges and after school and whatever emphasis they do put on it. But how is this all going to fit into this next 3-year plan?
I think that what we're looking at is a competency-based approach for students, a whole portrait of a child as they move forward, how they approach learning, not just that they're learning facts, but they're learning how to learn, and they're learning to apply those skills and strategies for the future. So that's the approach of the Portrait of the Graduate type of work that we're doing. This is a great measure for us to make sure that we're giving students hitting the standards that we need to for those students. But as John and Peter said, this is a piece of the story of those students. And so we want to make that available to them every possible type of learning opportunity, a lot of experiential types of learning, project-based. I was in Peter's class the other day, philosophy, and they're doing a project on Aristotle and Plato and those kinds of things that get them to be thinkers and doers and problem solvers. So that's how this work, I think, ties in. It's a piece of the puzzle.
And just to kind of tag on to that, and just to back up for a second, when Carol first started talking about Portrait of a Graduate, I thought, oh, here we go, Carol and her fancy ideas again.
Yeah.
But as we learned about that, and learned about what this district-wide approach would be, when we talk about what do we want kids to look like at the end of their careers, and how do we get them there, it unifies the whole thing. From little idiot things like typing to deeper things like expressing themselves, developing critical thinkers in 4th and 5th graders, so that when they get to Aristotle and Plato, or The Outermost House, which is not an easy book to read. And as well it should be, they're prepared for that. Because if we do our jobs, if we teach them well, the test isn't gonna matter. They're gonna be prepared.
Right.
They're gonna do fine. But we get to get to that.
And so, if you don't mind, I'll jump in a little bit, because, again, this is just achievement analysis, and again, I'm just taking from ELA for the last couple of years, how our students have done. If we just look at that, that leads us to one conclusion. I think it's better for us to look at, if we want to really get a better look, as a more accurate look at a piece of the puzzle for our graduates, what they look like. We want to look at the growth model, which the state did put out in 2008. We want to look at what the growth model is. And I think that's a better way of looking at how our students have done long term. This is just a chart that I pulled off a spreadsheet that I've been creating, because the state used to give us these reports and they don't do it anymore. This is looking at how a graduating class has done over the years. This is a better picture, if we will, of watching growth, because every graduating class is different. They're just different. They come with different skill sets. They come with different emotional issues. And so we need to really look at how has this grade done from 3rd grade to 10th grade, not how is the 10th grade done this year compared to the 10th grade last year. Because that can lead to two very screwy different things. And this is just grade level. And what we really wanted to look at as well is break this down even further, is look at how has a child grown since 3rd grade. That's really a way more accurate representation of how we're doing with our kids. Where was this kid in 3rd grade? Where is that kid by 10th grade? Have they grown? Then we're doing something right. And that kid could be on a totally different plane than another classmate. So that type of assessment, I think, is more important to me to look at. I think, I know Franny feels the same way with math. We want to look more at that growth model. So these next couple of slides just show us how these graduating classes did in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and 10th grade. Class of 24 obviously didn't take MCAS in 2020. How are we seeing growth through the years? And so this is a spreadsheet that I started to build just this summer, and will be available to whoever wants to take over when I retire. So it's about 7 years left. So that's one. What the state does make available to us as well is, again, looking at the growth model. This is another chart that I think gives us a more accurate picture of how our students are doing. So this is last year's MCAS exam, looking at grade 6, the percentage of students who were considered with very high growth, and moderate growth, as opposed to low. And this, they will look at how a student performed in 5th grade, 4th grade, and 3rd grade, put them into a category with similar students, and then how did they do in 6th grade compared to that same cohort of kids, and that's how they determine their growth. So if we look at our numbers for moderate, high, and very high growth, Those are pretty good numbers. And that's just based on last year's exam. Okay, so I look at this and I'm saying, hey, this is pretty good district-wide. You know, so we can look at 2022 numbers and maybe they're not as strong as 2021 numbers. When we look at the growth, we've got quite a few kids in those higher categories.
Question for you. First of all, love the reduction of data. Good stuff. I'm a data guy, so thank you.
I'm an English guy, so this is foreign. I do all this on my own.
I don't know
Which
who helps
is-
you with this, but 5 to 6 minutes. No, thank you. So you mentioned that, you know, really the goal and the culture we want to create is around helping each student meet their full potential, right? Which I think is awesome, and I fully support it. Does the school system look at growth at an individual level?
We can.
Is that something that we do?
Absolutely. Yeah, so when, you know, again, I'm just scratching the surface of the amount of data that's available to us through the state's website. So I can break this down for each individual student and see their growth from 3rd grade to 10th grade. I can get individual reports on every single kid. And we'll often share those at the beginning of the year, especially with like our kids on IEPs and 504s, so they can get into the special ed teachers' hands where those kids, so we do look at that.
Awesome.
It's just, we may not share that publicly, but we can't share it, obviously, with each individual kid, but that is a level of data we're looking at.
One of the things to remember with growth is that low performing students, special education kids, kids on 504s, kids with learning challenges, can still have high growth.
Right.
And that's what value of looking at this. This is value added.
Sure. Yeah, it's also, you've got the growth, how are you combining or measuring the growth versus the achievement? Because if you got high growth, but you started from a very low achievement score, it looks great, you've got high growth, but you're still failing.
That's how you feel about it.
So how are you presenting that? Like, it sounds to me like, I think we understand, Gina, know what's going on here, right? But it's becoming a communication issue, again, to parents. How are you gonna sell this to parents? Back to the portrait idea, the plan idea.
So this is the first step of that. Like this, I love this chart. In this growth, achievement and growth scatter plot. And I can break this type of data down into gender, economic status, high need status. You can do it on a district, like this is literally district to district. I can look at this chart. We want to see how we're doing against other districts. If you want to do that, we can do that. This data is available to us. This is from 2021. You can see this is where we are. We're in high achievement, high growth district in 2021. These numbers were great. Actually, I'm very proud of that. Tohoto was 2nd in the state for our growth in 10th grade. We were the same in 2019. I know this year math was 6th for growth. So when I see those numbers, it's like, you're doing something right. And it's working despite the pandemic. Like this was the hybrid year. And that's our 10th grade scores. And these are against, you can see some of the other districts I put up here. So I can also do this for within just the grade, where our high needs kids versus our non-high needs kids, where our kids are economically disadvantaged, or anything like that. We can break that down. This chart I love because it gives us a real quick snapshot of that achievement and growth together at the same time. That gives us a way more accurate picture than just the achievement by itself. Does that make sense? Now to go even further, and this is the stuff we really want to get a look at within our own departments. The state shows us curriculum-wise. These are the standards that our students have to do well with, that we have to hit certain benchmarks with on every single test. So this is the stuff that we really dive deep into within our departments. How are we doing against the particular standards? It shows us our district percentage of points that we earned against how many were actually available, and then how we did versus the state. Again, this is from 2021. I just had all that stuff available from the year past. So it's this type of data that we spend most of our time with within our departments, so that we then can look at how we're doing against the standards. And then to break it down even further, we can take, these are just your major, the major categories. This chart, and there's a whole other thing to go with it, I don't want to bother you with that. This is every single question and it will tell you which standard it falls under. And how we did, we're in blue, and this is the state, how the state did on every single question. So this gives us a quick snapshot of, all right, what happened on that question? Right? What happened on that question? But overall, for 10th grade, we're above the 80% mark of earning the possible points. And that was on a 51-point test. So if it was a 100-point test, it would be a percentage. Right? Does that make sense? So this is where we spend a lot of our time, is looking at this, and then we can go and look at the actual questions. What standard that did that show us? And then another thing I'm currently building too, is the state does not make this available to us, is how did a graduating class do with the standards through the years? The state does not have that information available to us. That to me is far more important to look at than achievement, because it's in ELA, are we hitting the standards year after year after year within that graduating class? And that is something that I think will be beneficial for us to look at, to have our conversations across the schools. Hey, this third grade class is lacking in these areas, or that graduating class as opposed to this graduating class. So it really helps us adjust year to year to what the needs of those students are. So again, this is just to kind of give you a snapshot of what we're looking at, what we're presenting to you in January, because we have a lot to look at. But it's way more than just that achievement. These are some links I provided for you in my PowerPoint. You just click on those, and it'll bring you to a few of the things that I was able to pull from. Carol. All right, so that's basic. I don't want to take any more time.
I just wanted to add to what you're saying, Peter. I mean, the information, the data we collect from these tests help us to be better teachers. It helps us to look at what our students need. As Peter showed that one slide, we can take this apart in so many different ways and focus on particular areas to make sure that we're reaching out to all of our students. So it's a great tool for us to use, even more so. I mean, you get the reports about your child, and it's good to see, or it isn't, and it sends a message, but the value, full value is for what we get as educators about these tests. I want to just say thank you. I'm proud to work with these educators, Peter and John and Lisa in the room. They're doing such outstanding work. Peter does this. He's emailing me in August. I got the results and I already put them together. I'm like, wait, we haven't even started the year yet. And he's already digging into this, so he's ready to hit the ground with the English department. But what happened this year, and I've never seen this before in this district, is they're starting to talk. The elementary schools and the high school, English department, John's been focusing on literacy in a way that has not happened before. I'm excited about it. I'm beyond excited about it. When I listen to them, they're looking at the youngest learner. And Peter, in the 10th grade, is respecting the third graders' results because it matters to him, because they're going to come up. Same thing, Lisa. Lisa is not only the science department chair, but she's also the science coach for the middle school. And she's been working with Ben Dillman, who is our science coach for the elementary school. She's going over in March to work with the 5th grade team in a way that they haven't looked at before, to look at the science, with the science MCAS and what she anticipates coming and what she's expecting to see, what's going to come up for the middle school, what they're going to need to know how to do. Is exciting, and it's the beginning steps of the potential of what we can be doing here, thanks to these educators. So, thank you.
Great job. Awesome job. So do you have any more questions? You're going to see a lot more of me in January.
I think the point that you made, Carol and John, and Peter, you talked to John, 10th grade, worrying about 3rd grade. We've talked before about Berlin worrying about Boylston Elementary worrying about Berlin, coming together one district,
Yeah.
right? That's the message you got to push out to parents. I'm talking to the 10th grade teacher because in 6 years, your kid's going to be in MCAS. That's the thing that I didn't probably put that together before I was here, right? As a parent, you don't realize that. You say, my kid's in 3rd grade, my kid's in 6th grade, my kid's in 9th grade, why is he doing this or that? The idea of having 3 or 4 separate schools, 3 separate buildings, has to go away. And it has to become one graduate from kindergarten to graduation day. So when we talk about the communication piece of this plan, that, it has to be communication. That, I think, is the biggest thing that was lacking around here, at least in my experience, is communication and a plan. And it sounds like you're starting to have a plan now, so that's good. That's the biggest thing. Communicate to the parents what's actually happening, why you're doing this in 3rd grade. Because in 10th grade, you need to go through this test, and we don't want to just do the test, we have to do all other things. So to hear that, you know, that's why we have this plan and why we have this big budget coming up, and that's what we need. So I like it.
Thank you. That was great.
Thanks.
Peter, don't shut that up. Are you using that? Peter, shut that off.
All right. Yeah, so, Nancy, Carol, thanks. The bus update first, and then budget?
Sure. Alright. So in regards to transportation, again, I want to thank the community for their patience with our buses, especially Berlin Bus 3 and Boylston Bus 5. So currently, we are still scheduled to have a full staff by the end of January. It's been pushed a little bit, training's kind of gotten behind, so now it's the end of January. The unfortunate part that we are still facing is that NRT doesn't have any substitutes. So when the driver calls out, the only option is to either double up a run if capacity allows it, or delay a run and have the driver go back after they do their first obligated run. So if anyone knows anyone who's interested in driving, please reach out to me and I can help you get in touch.
We'll drive.
I do want to mention, just so the community is aware, that NRT is committed to trying their best to attract new drivers. So they have recently enhanced their benefits package, and they're giving their drivers a $6 an hour increase. And they've added a paid holiday and overtime that they never received before. So they really are trying. The other good news is that Where's My Kid app is scheduled to be released in January. I'm scheduled to be set up for a pilot program for it next week, and then it should be released. I had a brief overview of it, and I think it will help tremendously, especially with our current busing situation. So parents can track any bus they choose, and then they can choose a location zone. They'll get an alert when the bus lands in that location. You can also flag the buses when they arrive at the school and when they leave the school. I'm told that service shouldn't be an issue as it's running off of the bus's GPS. The only issue that we might have is if in the parent's house, they don't have good service. They'll have to connect to their Wi-Fi. I want to reach out beyond transportation if I can, another quick one or two updates.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, actually, sorry.
The previous app didn't work very well, so I'm curious how it's different or technology.
So they said the difference with this app is the way it connects to the GPS. So it actually connects to the GPS on the buses, and the other app was working off of the towers, which we don't have that many, as we know with Tahan Tower. So that's why they feel this one should work a lot better.
And then with that app, is there an ability to send notifications like if a bus is out, like it's hard, you don't like, all right, it's 8:10, let me look at my email, there's no bus today.
So the parents can set it up by bus. So they'll be able to see, say your child's on Berlin Bus 1. They can set it up so they'll get notified when Berlin Bus 1 starts the bus in the morning. So then you'll get you can also get notified when it leaves, and then when it arrives at the school. So that's how you'll know. Yeah.
So Nancy, I actually, I did a pilot for this. I've done Here Comes the Bus, and then I did a pilot for this last year.
Oh, for this app?
Yeah, Where's My Kid?
Oh.
I put Where's My Kid?
Yeah.
I did notice when it was over on Green Street, which is close to my house, all of a sudden I was like, why is it stuck there? And then all of a sudden it would be around the corner for me. But as soon as I saw it near Green Street, I would track it. And this was over a year ago, so it might be running off the GPS and not the cell towers anymore.
it would give me a heads up that I should start heading out.
Right.
The only issue I had with it was if they used a sub bus, sometimes it wouldn't show up. But as long as you're not relying on the app, it really is just a helpful thing. It's really a sense of security and, you know, kind of like, oh, good, the bus is coming, especially when they're late. But I think people need to realize that nothing is perfect, but this is a very good app. It's better than Here Comes the Bus.
Right. That's a very good point with the sub bus, because it's based by the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if the bus breaks down, they go to a different bus.
Exactly.
And a comment on the bus situation. I get that we're not unique in the bus situation. This is an endemic, I think, issue across
Yeah.
probably a number of communities. And I know you're doing your best, Nancy. A lot of this stuff is it's out of your control to an extent. We're under contract with NRT, so, you know, there's limited influence. But I would ask that you just do your best to hold NRT accountable. There's a couple of, you know, I'm sure you have pulled your hair out and chewed off your fingernails over this as much as the parents in the community. What is concerning is that, you know, you mentioned that NRT has no substitutes, right?
Right.
And when, you know, we've chatted about the bus issue, and about a month ago, they were, you know, just short of declaring victory because they found a bus driver for Route 3 in Berlin.
Right.
That will still leave them without any substitutes, right? They just have the minimum number of drivers. So I'd encourage you to ask, you know, try to get more than that. To push for more, because if one of those drivers calls in, then hundreds of families in the community are, you know, heavily disrupted. And then, of course, it's disappointing to hear that, you know, the initial onboarding was 4 to 5 weeks, right, for that driver. That was 4 weeks ago.
Yep.
And now we have another 6 weeks. It's hard to imagine how sideways things could have gone from a 4 to 5 week process to a 10 to 11 week process. But please keep the fire on them if you can. Be the squeaky wheel. I know you are with them.
They know me well.
Yeah.
And I will keep at it.
It's just, we definitely need to discuss our options at an appropriate time. When is the NRT contract up?
I think we have 2 more years. I'll double check it, but I'm quite sure it's 2 more years.
What, do we have any options within the next 2 years? None.
Pretty locked in.
So they can just simply not provide the bus service. They're,
Oh, have we paid upfront, or is this a paid by the month?
So
How's it
I
going if we're paying,
have
we're not
not
getting service?
paid, so we're in December. I haven't paid October or November. I asked for the invoices to be adjusted for, I mean, we've been doubling up buses pretty much since September.
right?
They haven't gotten new invoices to me yet, but we spoke offline a little bit, and I'm still holding them.
I'd love to understand what their contractual obligation is to the
Yeah.
community.
I can dig into
Could
the
you share their
contract.
contract with us?
Sorry.
Could you share their contract
yeah.
with us?
Yep.
I think it's on the draft.
Is it?
Or is it, yeah, you put it on.
At one point it was voted by this committee, so it's public.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I can reshare it, so you guys might be easily.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do they say, you know, you said 4 to 5 week process of onboarding and they're training new people? Is the training 4 to 5 weeks, or is that including their?
So training can be very time consuming. The reason as to why it got delayed is because the person who's being trained hasn't had the time to attend all the trainings that they would have liked. So therefore it's been pushed. So, and then one of the people is out on leave, but that's still okay. Supposed to be lined up to be, as of right now, returning, but life happens and we all have seen that probably. So it makes me nervous, I won't lie.
And so one of the buses, bus 5 in Boylston is a substitute driver right now, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. Is it 5? I think. Yes, yep.
Do we know on that?
That's the one that should be cleared when we return. That one's supposedly set to be all good when the person comes back from leave.
But that's
Berlin
substitute
bus
is-
3 is the one that's gonna get delayed to then January.
But that substitute that's currently doing bus 5, we're not gonna lose him for.
So that person is actually a safety instructor that's needs to instruct safety. So it's gonna go back to his real job.
Can you give us a link or anything so we can put it in our newsletters?
Oh,
Just
sure.
since you've gone over the increase in pay and the benefits, maybe we could, I know I have a parent driving a Boylston bus, so.
Absolutely.
There's gotta be a way, I know Carol, you spoke about this, doing PTOs or something. We're not a big community,
Might be counting against us.
so we're not a big community.
That is exactly, because I feel like we talked about this, larger
We're small
towns.
dollar client.
No, I'm thinking about, I mean, we have no drivers. Right.
Or at the
So
mercy of
let's-
NRT.
Yeah, so now we don't have a driver for Berlin bus 3 until the end of January, so some kind of carpool, I mean, there's so many cars that get dropped off.
I don't think we're gonna
children off.
get into carpooling, safety, liability.
I know it is, but I mean,
insurance
if they
issues,
go,
And then, yeah, I don't think. we're
I'm
gonna
not saying the school does, but there has to be a solution here through parent groups.
do- I think,
It's very
I think a lot of
unfortunate.
parents are starting to take it into their own hands.
Yeah.
That's why the drop-off lines, I mean, I can speak for BES, Mrs. Ailes, and it seems like it's longer every day.
So as of January, you think we're gonna have a better situation?
Hopefully.
All right.
I mean,
As long
yeah,
as
is
this
there a way to
person has
put
all the
this on
training
the,
done.
can we put this on the town page? Because I don't know if that's been done yet. Do you know what I'm talking about, Laura, the Boylston areas connect
You
with?
mean to say that there are job opportunities?
Yeah.
Let's put it up there.
You mean like the Facebook pages or the?
Yeah, on Facebook, I'm just thinking like, you know, we talked about this, I know, it's a part-time job, so you're not gonna get somebody that needs money doing this. You're getting retirees that are looking for something to do and make a little bit of extra money.
Good money.
For moms. Right, moms.
$6 an increase is pretty good.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you might get some people that are like, oh, I didn't want to get the germs, and now they're like, well, for that much money, maybe I don't want, so I'm just wondering if we can get the word out on that Boylston, I don't know if Berlin has a page.
Yeah, Bob's been, putting it out there, we.
All right, because I haven't seen anything on the Boylston page,
It's an
but,
employment issue, I mean.
so can I put that privately out there, or just?
Yeah, I would take, my newsletter, I would just take that.
All right.
Put it on.
I'll do that,
Spread it around as far as you can.
yeah.
We gotta- The only way to solve this right now is to help our own district. Like, I
Yeah,
had a
somebody in
meeting
this
today
town.
with the Aspet Valley Collaborative,
Yeah.
and, like Bob said, we aren't the only ones. I mean, Marlboro has 41 buses, and they have 30 drivers. So that made me feel a little bit better about ourselves, because I'm like, okay, but,
Yeah.
so we're not the, we know that, but that's what I said to myself, we gotta solve this ourselves, because, they can't. They're not, and that's NRT, so that shows you how many drivers they're down.
I did find their contract, it was drafted or at least shared out on the 14th of April, 2020. It references a sealed bid, where I imagine the details of the routes or the scope of services is captured. It would be good to see that, because the contract itself doesn't really have any meat to it.
Yep.
It just kind of says regular route transportation, athletic transportation, et cetera. It does reference the GPS app from 2020, which we don't have still. So I'd love to see the bid, the sealed bid, and understand a little more about what our expectations are.
Sure.
They're just not providing the service, and that, I get that we have a contract, but we can't stop providing the service. So I'd just love to see it.
I will definitely send it to you.
Thanks.
All right, so we'll get the contract and ask for more drivers. Anybody wants to drive?
And can we offer an incentive of like the after-school program if it's a parent or a student?
That's a good idea.
I just,
It's literally like no cost to the district.
I think that's a great idea. It's creative. Yeah. Great idea. I have one more. Yeah, I had, I also wanted to mention our food service department. We're in desperate need of help. kind of the same situation. So if anyone is willing to substitute or want to be hired to help out in our food service department, we would greatly appreciate it. Our facility director has been gracious enough to help out all of us this past week.
They call me Lunchman Dan.
Lunchman Dan, oh, you just wanted the name, you just wanted the name.
Paul. So I just wanted to mention that, so
Don't
anyone.
call Paul.
Which schools?
Which schools?
All,
You're kidding.
mainly Tohoto, but yeah. Tohonto's having a really rough time.
And are they just the lunchtime hours or they're prepping? the whole day?
Lunchtime hours,
Drop-
we're flexible, so, you know.
Oh my God.
11 to 2, somewhere around there. You know, they can, even if they did, if they wanted to do, they can do it to 11,
Exactly.
like, anything but, anything would be amazing. So, I wanted to, and, you know, I also wanted to mention that last night Carol and I went to the town meeting, and, in regards to the facility assessment, and that the committee approved for Boylston Elementary. And I'm pleased to let everyone know in the community that Northbridge Partners has graciously committed to donating $35,000 towards our facility assessment. So between the $10,000 grant that we got from the MIA and this donation, we are going to be able to fund the facility assessment. So that's just amazing, wonderful news.
Sweet.
So I'll be reposting that in January after the holidays. So hopefully we'll get it better and we can move forward. And those are my updates, so if we want to, unless anybody has any questions, we can start with the budget.
All right, let's do this. So I wanted to start tonight by reiterating some of the highlights of our previous month's meeting where we introduced the district improvement plan and discussed all of the aspects of that. I wanted to remind the public that, again, this is only our 4th year as a district, as one single district, and that we are young. We have this great potential to grow, but we have to keep at the forefront of our work 2 essential questions. How do we and will we define ourselves as a district? And then what do we want for the future of our children? That's what's driving the district improvement plan. It's what's driving our budget. Tonight, we're going to look at this for all of our schools, not just individual schools like we used to in separate meetings that Peter was recounting before about different districts. It's one district and what we need all the way from elementary to middle high school. In the plan, we have 4 different objectives, and you're going to see that reflected in the way this budget is designed and presented this evening. We have personnel, the equitable opportunities for all students, the technology advancements, and then maintaining long-term financial and fiscal stability and sustainability. Tonight, Nancy Koniski, who is our finance director, is going to outline for us the cost of accomplishing these goals. The budget numbers Nancy will represent, and this is really important, it's a collaborative effort of the members of the budget subcommittee, we talked about that group earlier, representing the school committee and the district administration to put together a budget that reflects the needs of our district, in our district improvement plan. Again, it's our needs, and I keep emphasizing that it's not our wants, it's not our wishes, it's not the nice to have, it's the needs. I will tell you right now, all of you at home who are listening, this is aggressive and it is a reach. We've never gone out on a limb this way, and we're doing so tonight, and this is how we're moving forward. But however, this opportunity enables us to be competitive with other districts, with private schools, and even to some extent vocational schools, particularly in the STEM areas where they have the equipment, they have the tools necessary to educate students in those particular fields, and they have the funding to do that. And then I see this, watching this through the years, is this is the result of years of holding back funding because of our inability to meet these needs from both of our towns. And as a result, we've pushed this off. I said to Nancy, I'm going to give you an analogy of this whole thing in terms of a wet grocery bag. You're carrying all the things home in this wet bag that you need, the items that you need to eat. And the bag is getting heavier and heavier every year, and the bottom is starting to go out on it. You gotta save some of those items. We have to decide, what are we gonna save out of our grocery bin? Which of the items are we gonna pick? All of them, some of them? We're gonna let some drop and break on the floor? Who's gonna make those decisions? Who's gonna decide what gets saved and what goes out of that grocery, about what grocery bag? And that's where we are right now. Nancy met with a group at Aspet Valley today, and the finance directors all talked about this and said, you're courageous, right?
Yes.
We're gonna be in this spot in a couple of years because we keep cutting and we cut and we cut through the years and we've pushed ourselves backward, and now we're in a dilemma with this. I'm gonna say to you that I know that the school committee and this admin team, including myself, are open and willing to explore options to getting what we need. Possible grants and reach outs to local corporations, developers, as we did with the facilities, right? Philanthropic organizations. That's the work we're gonna be doing in the next several months. We're gonna do our best and we're gonna do our part in this. And we can continue to explain what we need and why it's important. Ultimately, it's gonna be up to the towns to make the decision to make that reach out on behalf of our students. It's gonna come down to you and the towns to do this. So at this time, I'll let Nancy take over.
Thank you. So as we start to review the fiscal year 24 preliminary budget, please stop me along my way and let me know if you have any questions. We're fortunate that we have our leadership team with us here tonight, so they'll also be here to help with questions. The first item that I would like to start with is the fiscal year 24 preliminary budget totals. I know you have a lot, so it looks like that. So this document shows you the budget comparisons from fiscal year 21 budget through the new preliminary budget for 24. You will see that it is broken out by level service only and above level service. For the community who isn't fully aware, level service is when a district provides the same level service to students that it had in its prior year. The district will meet contractual obligations both with its employees and vendors. It also will include additional costs to meet federal mandates and anticipated increases due to inflation. The above level service is when the district provides the same levels of service to students that it had in its prior year, but it also includes additional needs. The above level service helps the district with changing needs in education. It ranges from new curriculum, new programs, additional support, and advanced technologies. In reviewing our entire district as a level-only service budget, it is projected to have a 13% increase, which is a dollar amount of $2,538,540. In reviewing the entire district at above level service, it is projected to have a 23% increase, which is a dollar amount of $4,477,269. So before we go and review the budget request from each school individually, I wanted to briefly review the enrollment history with you, going back to fiscal year 17. So the enrollment numbers, so if you want to pull that up. So the enrollment numbers for our two elementary schools, Berlin Memorial Elementary and Boylston Elementary, have both increased last year, fiscal year 22, and then this year for fiscal year 23. Keep in mind when looking at this that fiscal year 20 and 21 can be misleading due to homeschooling with COVID. So in Berlin Memorial, we had a 15% increase in 22, which is 24 students, and a 6% increase in 23, which is 12 students. In Boylston Elementary, we had a 16% increase in 22, which is 38 students, and a 12% increase in fiscal year 23, which is 33 students. And looking at Tohoto Middle School High School, we had a decrease of 4% in fiscal year 22, which is 20 students, and a decrease of 3% in 23, which is 16 students. The greatest decreases are in 8th to 9th grade as students are choosing to attend other schools. We would like the community to keep these enrollment changes in mind as we review the preliminary budget for fiscal year '24. It will help communicate why the school committee and administration would like to see these above-level service requests. As the elementary schools enrollment is increasing, the needs of our students are increasing. At Tohoto, the enrollment is dropping, which validates the district's needs for offering new programs and supporting our students. One of the other things that I think it's important for the community to be aware of is that $231,000 of personnel and services that are in our fiscal year '24 budget are currently being paid out of our ESSER grants for our COVID ESSER grants in the current year's budget. These are items that we feel we still need as a school district to support our students. So now we can go into each school individually, unless anybody has any questions.
Can you repeat the ESSER grants amount?
Sorry?
The ESSER grants amount, how much of our current budget is that, or you said something? Can you just repeat what you said?
Yeah, I can repeat what I said. I don't have the exact amount of the ESSER grants, but I can get it for you. So, for this current year, $231,000 between personnel and services is being paid out of this current year's budget through the ESSER grants. Those personnel and services were put into the fiscal year '24 budget, but now we don't have the grants to cover that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do we have a projected growth or, increase or decrease for the schools in '24?
For enrollment? I did not do that, but I can.
Just curious.
Yeah. To break, that's something that should be done.
Probably tell the story for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, then we'll move on to Berlin Elementary. So the level service, we'll start with level service only. So the level service only has an increase of 12% at $481,012. 7% of this is from the general budget at $210,040. The significant increases to bring to your attention under general education are that we have a math tutor that's currently being paid through a grant and it's being put in the general budget next year. This dyslexia screener that was paid through a grant this year and it will be put in the budget for next year. We need a new copier in the main office. This was purchased in 2018. We have a slight increase to our regular transportation. We have a retirement payout for one teacher for the contractual agreement. We currently have a night custodian that is contracted out. We would really like to bring that custodian back in-house. The increase would be benefit costs only. Electricity, we have a 31% increase. And our health insurance and benefits are projected to have a 10% increase. 26% is from the special education budget, which accounts for $270,973. The items that attribute to this are, we have 2 new out-of-district students, which also include a 14% projected increase to our private out-of-district tuitions. We have an additional bus monitor We have an increase to special education transportation, and we have a special education teacher that's retiring that also will get paid out for the contractual agreement.
Can I just clarify?
Yeah,
So when you
please do.
say out of district tuition, so those are Berlin, students that their needs aren't met within our district, and so they need to go to an out-of-district placement.
That's correct.
It's not a student from elsewhere.
Yes, that is correct. That's correct. Yeah. The above level service requests for Berlin have a total increase of 20% at $841,143. 15% is from the general budget of $484,653, and 34% is from the special education budget at $356,491. So the first section that you'll see of the above level service are the items that we went over at the last meeting with the district improvement plan. So I'm gonna move over that unless anyone has any questions in that area. I thought I would just move to the above level service items that weren't in the district improvement plan. Is that okay with everyone? Yes. So the significant increases to bring to your attention under general education for that, we have various software that we need. We would like to start putting in a small line item for new desks and chairs for students to kind of keep up to date with them. The literacy decodable materials for K through 3, kindergarten through 3rd grade. We have an outdoor storage container in Berlin that we have been leasing for several years. It makes sense at this point to just purchase it outright instead of keep leasing it. If we did that at the beginning, we would have already saved some money. Reprogram our pellet boiler, needs repair. We put in various capital items from the facility assessment into the general budget, our special education reserve fund, and we have increases to several of our facility line items ranging from maintenance and repairs, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, boiler, and other expenses. And under special education, we have Orton Gillingham training. Does anybody have any questions under Berlin?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Are there any other details? I'm really familiar with the district improvement plan, what's in it. And by the way, the vision that this stuff creates for Berlin Memorial, and I know we'll have the same for the other schools, is pretty awesome. So I'm very supportive. But are there any other details about the items not in the district improvement plan, where if one wanted to kind of double click on that and learn more about those individual items, they could?
There's not, but I can add it in.
I don't know that, I think the way you've got this summarized is really nice.
Yeah.
It's a lot of information, so I wouldn't change it, I would just be curious.
If you want more, we can give it to you, like
Just talk,
right,
phone call will probably do it.
what, you can do it now, whatever, we're glad to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you could share a little more about some of the software packages that are being proposed and what impact they would have on the school community.
Absolutely. So this is why we brought the leadership team here. But that's why everybody's here, is to help with answering those questions. I am the finance girl, so I do the numbers, they know the info behind it, so this is great.
So there's a few that I can't address, but for example, single sign-on, it's actually something we've been talking about in the village for a while. Single sign-on is an app that allows kids to sign into a bunch of different programs with one password or like a QR code. And it's ironic because we were just talking in PLC's thing with my first grade teachers, because it takes them 20 minutes to log their first graders into their iPads. Because everybody's got a password, everyone figures the password is different than username. Single sign-on would help with that. Rocket Math is basically electronic flashcards, but very visual, lots of little certificates. It's helping us with that. Mirror Fluency is a program that's fascinating, where kids are prompted to read. They have headphones and a microphone, and the computer app will actually keep track of the reading fluency. Rather than having an adult listen to one kid at a time, I can put 5 kids at a time on a Chromebook, and we can check their reading fluency. Foundation Fun Hub is just something that goes with our Foundation's phonics program. And again, it's just an online component to further enhance student learning. Absolutely no idea. Harper's time and attendance.
That one's
I think she's
actually
gonna make
me,
me
so I can
question
answer that. Harper's time and attendance. Currently, keep attendance through iVisions, that's with our Munis program. But we have our software through, oh my gosh. Harper's,
It's for student attendance.
yes. So this will actually, the attendance will go through this software and download right into our payroll software.
Right, adult attendance,
Yes.
not student attendance.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And then is DocuSign for the administration, or is it by chance going to alleviate parents' needs for filling out 10 forms at the beginning of every year?
Wait, you don't like that part?
I don't know what he's talking about, John, I love it.
That's on the application under the district improvements.
Power School?
Power School.
Yeah.
Amen.
Awesome.
Amen.
Okay. Really cool. One other question that came up as you were going through this, Nancy.
Sure.
I don't know, this one might be tough, and it's not Berlin Memorial specific, but, you know, I see that we have this grant that paid for the math tutor, right, last year. It's not gonna pay for it in '24, so totally
Yep.
get that. We need to pay for it.
Yeah.
But it does imply that grants are a funding opportunity for us. And so as we look to execute on as many of these great things as possible, do we have an idea of what opportunity, financial opportunity is out there from a grant perspective? And how do we
So-
strategize to get money that way?
The way I built the budget was a little bit different than was done by the prior director of finance. So the way I built the budget is I took all the entitlement grants, your 240, your special education grants, your 240, your 274, your Title I, your Title IV, they're all grants that you're entitled to, that you get as a school district. I apply them to this budget. So they're in there.
Awesome.
Yes and no, because we're still so high. Yeah, right, but, so I accounted for everything that I'm aware that we will receive.
Okay.
So they're in here.
Okay.
So, about the grants, because this is something we've talked about at the subcommittee meetings. It probably would be a full-time job for somebody in the central office. And whether or not we want to invest in this down the road, maybe not right now. There's so much money out there, whether it be through federal grants, state grants, or even private grants, private funding, corporate, but somebody has to have the time to research them, do the extensive application process, follow up on them, figure out what's needed, what can we slightly change in our district so we fit this or we fit that. So I think there's a ton of opportunity in grants, and I just feel like we've got so much on our plate right now. Maybe that might be a thing for next year to kind of broach that subject, maybe with the subcommittee, and personally bring it to the committee, maybe about hiring, or have it be, part of somebody's role that's already in central office that might, need another thing to do. But I think there's opportunity there, but I don't know how much money Nancy's gonna have time to apply for.
I love the idea of hiring a grant writer, and, I don't know the size of the grants that are available, but, we just need to cover one salary, and then it's worth it, and then anything after that is gravy. So that might be an interesting.
One of my prior
Think
districts,
about it.
we consulted with a grant writer. And we made out great.
Right, so we could
That was
outsource
years
it.
ago, but I would imagine there's still
There's
quite a bit available.
Yeah, so we could just outsource it, and then, some years, like a year like this, would be really beneficial to have.
They'll get a small percentage of any grants that they get. So the bigger grants they get,
And even
so
if we
it's kind
handle
of
the
advantageous.
Title I grant, Title IIA, and for ourselves, in-house, we can still could outsource for more of the private grant
Right.
opportunities. So we do have some positions that are in our grant fund. Each mill has them for paraprofessionals and special education grant. I have some Title I, I have Title I tutors in there. So we do have positions already funded. We don't get a lot compared to other districts.
Because we're size.
Yeah, because we're small.
We're small.
And it goes by the poverty level.
Economics says we're right in the middle, I know.
Right, no, it's just, it's entitlement, but we're entitled to a certain amount that's determined for us by the federal government. so that's all we can work with. I mean, we get $10,000 for Title IV and like $12,000 for Title II. That's just professional development.
Does it make sense now, as I just said, we have so much on our plate, but I'm thinking like this year is such a large budget, and hopefully we're not gonna be doing this year after year after year. Does it make sense to maybe look for a consultant? I don't know how long it takes. I don't know, maybe that's something we could talk about at our next subcommittee meeting.
That's part of what I was saying before. We should be looking at private grants to fund some of these items. It's difficult to fund positions because you can't sustain them over time. You know, they're only as good as the grant is long. But we can certainly look for things that those private grants will pay for.
Right.
Put a Dunkin' Donuts logo on the new copier.
Yes, that's the roof,
I remember a time when I was
stuff.
like, you never do that in education. Now I'm like, bring it on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
One other general question, last question, because you've never been on last. So regarding process here, is there a point at which, again, across schools, we would consider prioritizing some of the things we're asking for, right? We'd love to be able to execute all of these.
Right.
But if our decisions have to be made, I think we might want to be influencing those decisions, right? As opposed to someone randomly, doing their best.
Carol and I kind of have already sat, and we kind of have a side list, I'd say, where our priority and
How's that get conveyed to FinCom, to some of the
Well,
stakeholders?
this budget, when we vote on it, will be conveyed, however we vote on it. And then tomorrow night, that's why I asked you guys about tomorrow night. There's a meeting with them.
So it's like a working process, right, until February, when you guys make the official final vote at the open public hearing. That's when your final budget will be. So cuts will happen if the committee would like, between now and then.
Or shifts.
Or
One of
shifts,
our,
yeah.
one of our intentions, one of our strongholds is we said it's 3 years. So if we have to shift items or personnel positions into a second or third year, that's what we would want to be looking at. Because all of the things we said we want to do in the district improvement plan, we don't want to cut, for forever. We want to make sure we just push it to maybe the second and third year. And I do think even the admin team, the principals would have in mind what they would see as logical to be shifting to another role, right? So.
Okay, yeah, just, I guess, I understand that we're voting our recommendation for this budget to move forward, but, we have another hearing in February, as the community has a chance to see this, react to it, as we hear from constituents about what they think, how they want to spend their money. It might be nice to sort of have a list of items that we really want to protect, right? That are just crucial, and some that, maybe we can consider other ways of funding.
We'll continue to look at that with the sub, I think that's a perfect use of the subcommittee.
Yeah, and we talked about too, Bob, there are huge things this year that we almost don't have a choice. Increases in utilities, increases in special needs, that's state mandated.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of the stuff, it's almost like we don't have a choice. So if we're forced to make cuts somewhere, it's gonna be, well, we'll have 2 teachers and there's gonna be 30 kids in the class.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those things, it's like we're at that dire of a situation, I think. Just because of the inflation and the current state. So I think it's gonna be important to get this budget out to the community and let people know how important it is, to put the investment in the public schools right now in our community.
That's really I wanted to break it out by level service and above level service. Just level service itself was 13%.
Yeah, well, you've got that
That's
percentage at least in enrollment growth too.
Right,
Right?
right.
Not to mention inflation, and you're gonna get to Boylston and talk about a 40% increase in electricity
Royce
costs.
is flat, yeah,
Right, so I get it, it's
yeah,
not a lot of fat here.
right,
Yeah,
right.
thanks.
You're welcome. Anybody else? All right. Boylston. So starting with the level service only, the Boylston has a total increase of 16%. That's $763,763. 6% of that is from the general budget, which is $226,600. 41% of that is from the special education budget at $537,163. So from the general budget, you have the dyslexia screener that was paid through a grant last year that is put into the general budget this year. We have needed plumbing and building repairs, so we added an increase for that. We have increase to transportation. We're leasing a new copier. The last one that was purchased was in 2018. I'm changing some of the copiers. It seemed like the prior history, copiers have always been purchased outright and then they've been kept for several years. So I'm recommending kind of changing the ones that are used very often to a 3-year lease, so the teachers don't get frustrated and they're not jammed all the time and they're getting very
So
frustrated.
copiers, just because someone's like, why, who cares about copiers? It's because the teachers use them daily. And
Daily,
it's affecting their ability to teach.
yeah, absolutely.
Need copiers.
And they're just so old, they need to be updated. And so the copiers that the teachers use for all their copies and everything, I put on a 3-year lease. The copiers that aren't used as frequently, I'm gonna purchase outright, because you can keep them longer. Yeah. There was a 39% increase to electricity, projected 10% increase to health insurance and benefits, and a 31% increase to natural gas. We're projecting 2 new out-of-district students with a 14% increase built into that for our private out-of-district students. We have additional needs for home medical services, additional needs for evaluations and consults, and an increase to our special ed transportation. So that's level service only. Our above level service has a total of 30% at $1,443,033. 22% of that is from the general budget at $752,318, and 53% of that is from special education for $690,714. Again, I'm just going to skip the above level service items that we covered in the district improvement plan. I'm going to move over to the above level service items that weren't in the district improvement plan. So those were the various software. It's actually the same software that we covered in Berlin. The new chairs and desks, literacy decodable materials, kindergarten through 3, and also purchasing the outdoor storage container. So those are all actually the same, and the same for special education, which is the Orton Gillingham training.
Are there economies of scale that we can leverage for software for, within the district? Like, can we buy a quote unquote network license of some of these things and use them in the different schools, or do we need to make the same investment for standalone software in each school?
So we're getting quotes as a bundle, and most of them have, cutoff spots, so they might be 0 to 250 is X, 250 to, so.
Got it.
We will see that.
So you're looking at.
We will see that economy.
Anyone else have any questions? Tom Honto. So let's start with the level service only. That's a total increase of 13% at $1,289,446. 8% is from the general budget for $642,351. 30% is from special education at $647,095. So under the general budget, We're leasing a new copier and purchasing 2. All the copiers are from 2016. We have a 39% increase to electricity, 10% increase to health and insurance benefits. We have a decent increase to transportation, increase to oil. We don't have the exact amount. I put $19,000 in. We're currently out to bid, waiting for it to come back. And we also have a night custodian in Tohoto that we would actually like to bring back in-house. So the cost would be benefits only. Under special education, 2 new out-of-district students with a 14 projected increase to private out-of-district tuitions. I put in conferences that increased according to personnel contracts, additional needs for evaluation and consults. There's an increase to special education transportation, increase to special ed services such as PT, music therapy, and hearing impaired. So on the above level service, there's a 22% increase at $2,188,874. $2,188,874. 17% is from the general budget, and 40% is from special ed. So just skipping to the above level service items that weren't in the district improvement plan. Under general education, we have a laptop cart in the science department, various software, the DocuSign, single sign-on, and Harper's time and attendance. Purchase an outdoor storage container there. We would like to add 5 working summer days for the guidance counselors. We would like to get our drama club up and running, so we would like to add supplies into that. We'd like to update our AP psychology textbooks and update our physics lab equipment. Our fiscal year 25 standards competency and curriculum mapping. We'd like to have a pilot program for grade 7 social studies and our special education reserve fund. We'd like to add into that. And for special education, the Orton Gillingham training, and for our new special education teacher that we are requesting, we need new chairs and desks. Anyone have any questions?
I do. It's not a question. I think this is awesome. It's a tremendous body of work. And what's really impressive, honestly, is how you've summarized it concisely. Because I know it represents, what's in this 30-some-odd page document, and you've done a really nice job. So thank you.
Thank you.
And to all those that helped. What I think about when I see these is how I will convey and communicate what we're seeking and the vision that the district has to people that aren't in the room or watching this meeting right now.
Right.
And I think the only thing that might be helpful, and maybe we could kick this down to the budget subcommittee, or maybe even the student success, since it's sort of overlaps with the district improvement plan. I wonder if we could somehow, not to be too prescriptive, but like show a pie chart, right? Of you've shown the categories of the different things that that make up the whatever percent increase, right? The top level number.
Yep.
But it might be helpful to convey to the community, how much of that number each of these things represents.
I have that right here if you wanted to know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking
That's
about
easy,
like
yeah.
communication tools for us as we talk to people in the community. That might be really helpful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
And I'm hoping that these documents that you've made will make it into the minutes as hyperlinks. And I think looking at this and seeing general budget, special education, and really seeing it broken down, really explains where the money's going, and I think that's very helpful. So I think, I think pie charts are definitely a good tool, but I think this document that you've made would be great to share with the public too in the minutes.
Right.
Yeah, and I can do the pie charts and add it for each section, and I think
You
it'll
got
be
Mr.
great.
Doherty do it, probably.
Yeah, that's true.
Get him on another PowerPoint, yeah. It's a great thing,
Yeah, his head was exploding as it was.
I think too, Nancy, for community members to see it too, I'm just gonna echo what they said. I mean, to see a budget as it was presented previously, it was so very difficult, unless you don't have any budgets, which you do, to understand what's broken down like this. It really tells the story of not being, like you would say, just status quo. This is what our district needs for our students and staff.
One of the things Nancy and I talked about this afternoon too is after we present tonight and it's voted on, taking this and putting it into this week's newsletter that we send out from the district. So we'll put in, I'll do the summary again, and then we'll put in the towards the district improvement plan into this budget presentation, if you're comfortable with that.
But I think too, if you could, out of the meeting footage, take your portion when you presented this, because I think that really, spoke to you presenting the vision of the district. I think that would be,
The actual video.
the actual part of the video.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Because I think.
We got high school club kids with technology.
I'm sure Joel's telecom class or the telecom kid could probably handle it.
So, I think
But
pictures worth
even-
1,000 words.
Even,
She can do it again.
yeah.
You can re-record it.
I was gonna say,
Three camera shoot.
yeah, I mean, we could link, we can use a link and timestamp, like, where you said that too, like to the YouTube channel, I think, so.
Yeah.
I think we should be able to do that.
Yeah, the only, I guess, trouble with that idea though is, because I think the camera was focused on you rather than your presentation too, for the document, so. That will have to be considered. Maybe you could have like
Yeah, you can
you
do it as
talking and then.
part of the marketing, the discussion we're gonna do. Communication, more is better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the paragraph you read, you could put in the beginning of the newsletter, I mean, like.
Yeah,
So you just write that, exactly, your, whatever you spoke, yeah.
I'll be hearing that speech.
Many places, in select board, getting in front of them.
I think the part of that Nancy, you started with the enrollment projections. I mean, I knew Lori is in real estate, I'm in real estate. You can see the building going on around town. I didn't realize it impacted the enrollment was that much, 16%, 13%. And that's a huge, we have classes of 13, 14, 20 kids. That's 2 kids to add to a classroom, which takes the focus of the teacher away. It dilutes everything down, right? So the story here is the growth in these 2 towns over the last 5, 6, 7 years. It impacts what you're gonna do in schools. You wanna have small classes, you wanna have extra resources or opportunities for kids, you wanna compete with other towns around us. You have to fund it, you have to invest in it. I think that's part of the story, is the growth in the towns. Whatever that has been. So that was, I like that. I know you asked for the next year's numbers too, and I know that's in the works. I know you get reports on that, so I know that is coming.
The other piece that I think is important for people to understand is in this budget, we have kind of 2 categories. One is like recurring expenses. So hiring a teacher, that's a recurring expense every year. Like there's certain things in here that are one time, like part of the capital budget.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the numbers are really big this year, but some of that stuff, if we put a roof on BDS and it's $1 million, we're doing that once. So that's $1 million once. We're not gonna need that year over year. So I think it's important, and I'm sure you have that kind of broken down too for the presentation as to what's a recurring expense and what's a one-time. Right. Some of this software, again, I don't know, what is it, you pay every 3 years or is it annual licensing? I mean, again, so, you might have to get creative for 1 year. That's kind of the idea of getting everything all out there at once.
I guess if you could break it down like % of recurring versus one-time asks, I think that could rationalize.
For the
a lot.
community, right, I'm just saying if it comes to a vote and, you know, your taxes are gonna go up this much this year, but then
And like, I think
future
quantifying
years.
it, like you were saying, like I wasn't here at this meeting, and I think quantifying it per taxpayer is really important, that's what they did with the CPA.
Yes,
And so I think that is also a huge part of it.
yeah, and we'll definitely need each town assessor's help with that. But I think that's gonna be a huge aspect when we're presenting to the community. And that's what the voters are gonna wanna see if this goes to a town meeting vote. What am I gonna have to pay? That's the bottom line for most people.
Bottom line is what am I gonna have to pay and what am I gonna get for it?
Right,
What is that return on what I'm gonna have to pay?
exactly. But everybody's got a price tag where, oh, $1,000 a year, no way, I'm not doing that. Or, oh, $50 a year, well, that's nothing, I don't mind, you know what I mean?
$1,000 a year, I'm not paying that. And then, my grandkid's not gonna graduate with whatever opportunity we're trying to cut or add. So, yeah, that's the conversation that's gonna be had.
That is the conversation, yes, but we need some numbers so people can be, and then like, I think we talked about this at our meeting, there are some people that physically cannot afford another $1,000 a year, they have for themselves. So I cannot do this. And I think, it's just about kind of figuring out what the increase would be year over year, what we can get from the town, what we can get from grants, and that's the next step, I feel like, in this process, because I think kind of we're all in some type of unison, we all want this, we believe this is what we need. The next step is like, how do we get there?
So we didn't go over the capital plan, I don't know if you want me to go over that real quick.
We have it, did you put it?
It's in your folder.
Why don't, do you want, would you like to do this, why not?
Yeah, take a few minutes.
We do, okay.
While you're pulling it up, just a question about capital and really maybe non-recurring costs. So, just thinking about a question that someone from the community might ask, that is, maybe they don't have children in the district, and it is a big deal, right, to have a tax increase. If we budget for $1 million for a new roof this year or next year, is there an expectation that that budget will shrink by $1 million after that project and for years subsequently after the project is done?
So I actually, for the capital plan, I did it out to 3. For that reason. So, I mean, I didn't bring it with me tonight, I have it.
That's okay.
Yes, it decreases greatly.
In what?
It decreases greatly.
So we have,
Yes.
Sort of like, okay,
Yes, yes.
I think that's helpful to see
Right.
that.
I will, tomorrow I'll send out the 3-year,
Cool. Thanks.
yeah. It's definitely worth looking at, because like you said, when we go through this, you put in your roof in Boylston Elementary for 1.2 million. I mean, your capital is, but that's a one-time cost, right? So next year, you're way down. Right. The main recurring cost in your capital that we're requesting, that we'll go over, is your one-on-one initiative for your Chromebooks, your student laptops, that type of stuff. That's recurring. The rest is mainly one-on-ones. Okay, so I'll go, anybody else? Okay, so we'll go through this real quick. So for Berlin Memorial, we have 45,000 for a replacement plan for 90 Chromebooks, 25 new iPads, and we also put in there new phones for the district offices. 20,000 to repave the walkway and playground. The walkway is cracked and unsafe. And 273,000 to replace the flat roof. The existing roof is 22 years old. We'll remove the existing roof to existing deck and replace with a new roof system. The total of the request is $337,838. In Boylston, we
I have one
have,
question.
Yep.
Nancy, what does the playground mean? Repave the walkway and the playground, what does that mean? I mean, I know repave the walkway means, but I don't know what the playground means.
The back of the building, the playground is, a little walkway there.
Oh, this one's
Yeah,
on?
just the, not the playground itself, the walkway.
Right.
The walkway, so the kids come out and walk. BES? BES?
Berlin.
Berlin.
I know that one. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. And then in Boylston, we have to resurface the roof. We put, to resurface the roof is 1.2 million. A new roof would be 3 million. And a resurface will last a good 20 years.
15, 20 years versus a new roof, 20 to 30 years.
So that's why we went
It's a
that
big
route.
price jump.
And under IT, your replacement plan would be for 105 Chromebooks, 25 new iPads, and portion of the new phone system for the district offices. The kitchen floor replacement for 30,000, it's a safety concern. We really need a non-slip floor in the kitchen. And HVAC installation, there's no HVAC in the building, so that's 400,000. So the total amount of the request is 1,679,000. In Tohoto, we have 200,000 for the security camera and system. It needs to be upgraded. We put in 50,000 for facility assessment. For IT, replacement plan for 120 Chromebooks for middle school students and the phones for the district offices. And a replacement plan for 85 Chromebooks with student laptops for the seniors, $110,500. The auditorium sound and light system, we need an assessment for that as it's not working correctly.
The lights.
The lights, right, yeah. So we want to get an assessment on that to figure it out, where to proceed. So that's $5,000. HVAC upgrade, $15,000. And then you got your principal and interest from your bond for the building. So the total request is 1.7 million for Tohoto.
How much does a Chromebook cost?
About 260 to 270, it varies, they've gone as high as 310, they've gone as low as, it's a supply chain kind of thing. I think we put 275 as our guess for next year.
That's just because they're damaged.
So that is to try to get everything, the replacement plan is to try to basically have everything on a 5-year cycle. So we're not asking them to last longer than that, where right now we have things that are a lot older.
Okay.
So Paul, that seems totally reasonable, right? Like just IT hardware, 5 years, so
Yeah.
older starts to become a dinosaur. And we talked about this a little bit during the district improvement plan discussion. I know it's probably not worth much, the Chromebooks and such, but man, I would love for us to figure out a way to wipe them and donate them to like the Council on Aging. Maybe our seniors could use them, or someone in the community, groups in the community.
Great idea.
So if we do get on a ongoing, kind of recycling program, I feel like that would just.
At this point, most of what we're using is, and again, so it's like, the things that we have as spares, we end up needing as spares for ourselves, so like gaskets, damage them, or as, keys pop off or whatever, we're going through anywhere from 30, depending, like Tohoto, maybe like 50 in a year, just replacing.
Can parents be held liable if their child damages a?
If it's, and we have insurance at the middle high, whether we do that at the elementary school or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, we like that, as kind of, let's see how it goes with the middle high school.
Yeah.
We haven't had, I think we only had 2 claims so far, so like it's hard to judge, is this company good, or is the program working, is it really saving us anything, kind of thing. But I agree, like, again, should it pass, like, we should be in a better position to do something like that with the leftovers.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I add just one more thing, because to kind of correct what I said earlier, because I know I said like the future of the capital plan went down. So I pulled up my 3-year plan for the capital plan. So just quickly for Berlin in 25, We have on there the IT for the replacement plan, wireless access points for 27,000. And then we have on there to shingle the roof area, so that's 1.1 million.
To do what now?
Berlin will need it.
For the other part of the roof,
Oh, the shingle.
yeah. So I didn't want, I said it went down, and I'm like, no, it didn't. So for 25, it goes up, but then in 26, it goes down to 443,000. We put in playground, redoing the playground surface, window glazing, IT, updating HVAC ventilators. But I'll get all that out to you. The other schools did go down, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, of course, everyone would want it to go down, but I think more importantly, they want to see that the right things are hitting the budget each year and we're not carrying over things just because.
Right.
And it sounds like that's exactly what we've done.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you mind just going back to West Elementary's HVAC? So that's heating and cooling?
What was the elementary?
Yeah.
For the
HVAC.
HVAC, we just, air conditioning.
Oh, okay, so it, then do just the furnace?
Yeah.
I think last year Jeff had looked into getting chillers into the rooms, because I don't know, maybe there's a better way, maybe you can put those mini splits or something, but we discussed it at length last year, because some of the classrooms in that school get into the 90s.
Yeah.
And that, like in May, for a whole month of May or September, that becomes a safety issue, I think, or a health issue. So. This is awesome, thank you.
Any other questions or anything to add to it?
I'll get that information out to you tomorrow with the pie chart, love it. And then send you out the 3-year plan for the capital. It's great.
All right. Should we move on to our business items then? All right. First one. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. You don't want to stick around for the votes, guys?
You want to stay for another 35, 45 minutes?
Yeah, we've asked all the questions, so yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, take off. It's up to you.
We need to miss a good part.
Okay,
We can only finish up the outermost house.
Sorry.
Bring
That's
my
my report card on the fridge.
You had no idea.
No idea.
That's so funny. That was really awesome. I'm so glad they did that for you. Seriously, one of the best teachers, some of those teachers are awesome.
First item up, have a motion to approve the initial fiscal year 2024 budget and capital budget as presented.
So moved.
Lori,
Second.
Julie, in favor?
Do we have a discussion?
Yes, you want a discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, just, I think it would be helpful, Mr. Chair, this is my first time going through it, and I'd love to understand just the sequence of events,
Mhm.
right? What is the significance of this vote? I know we have another budget hearing in late February. So I'd love to just kind of share and talk about the whole arc of this process and what it looks like.
Yeah, so we're gonna vote on this one tonight, so it's preliminary, right? And then tomorrow, obviously, it's going to the Berlin Finance Committee to discuss it, talk about it, answer their questions. There'll be other meetings like that, right?
You don't have a date yet.
Yeah,
So I
Berlin
know,
reached out and specifically, I believe, invited you to this particular day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they usually have theirs the earliest.
at the very beginning of the budget season, I did a budget calendar.
Oh, yeah.
I don't, was that shared with you?
Yes, it's at home.
I can find that too and resend it. That will help too. It kind
Or
of,
just put it on the drive.
okay.
Julie has it, yeah, that's it. Julie has it.
Does that help?
It's the month of January. Preliminary expenditure budget gets presented to the respective towns, board of selectmen and finance committees. Berlin's probably just a little early.
Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, after next week, nobody's doing anything. I mean, we're literally, actually, next week, like, we're getting very close to the happiest time of year.
Okay, so today, preliminary expenditure budgets presented to the school committee for discussion. That's happening today. Then, next step is to present these to respective towns, board of selectmen and finance committees. And it sounds like, Carol, Nancy, I don't know if the school committee's approval is a prerequisite for that, but probably would like to have it, right? They're going
I
into
think
those
that's
meetings.
why, I think that's why we had done it that way, yep.
Okay, and then we have a 3 or 4 month process between December and March where the administration continues to develop budgets as new information occurs. Revisions are brought to the school committees for updated review. So this is, we see as a preliminary starting point, launch it, and then start gathering information. And then, looking for highlights here. Late January and early February, foundation enrollment, minimum local contribution data is published. Those are inputs to the budget calcs. February 28th, in bold. Regional School Committee public hearing on the budget. School committee will vote on the proposed 23 budget. March and April, potential revisions to the budget. It's never final. Based on changing circumstances and/or feedback from member towns. And then month of May, town meetings. So, so does the process always, yeah, let's talk about that. Does the process always go to town meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Always?
Always, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the tax.
Yeah, okay, all right.
But like last year, I think we just did the standard recommended increase, so it wasn't like a, hey, get your friends to go vote on this, it was just, right, last year it was just.
We did, we went to the finance committees in both towns, so we talked about the budget, and even then, you know, there was some questions that came up about some of the items we had on there. I think of the school adjustment counselor for the purpose of that, what we were pushing on those items. So there will be a lot of, I anticipate tomorrow there'll be a lot of questions.
Okay. So a vote tonight, you know, a majority vote represents majority support for the budget as it's currently drafted, kind of puts you in a position to talk to your stakeholders and share that you have the committee's support.
What's different about this year though is we already have been sitting with the school committee. Typically, it's the superintendent, finance director that recommend the budget to the school committee. And it's really the first time we're seeing,
First time
we've
I've ever
ever
seen
seen
that.
with you, and then with a lot of.
That was the conversation last year, was we don't see it until December, it's the first time ever. We haven't had a question about it, we haven't heard anything about it. That's not a good way to do things. It rushes things, doesn't give us time to review it. I mean, this is probably the 10th time you've been in a meeting about it, Megan, in June, right? We've been in several full meetings about it. You know, we had it last time, so I think it's a better process.
This is
Nothing's
Quite
a
honest.
surprise,
so much
nothing's a
better.
surprise tonight for those
Yeah.
who've been here.
I like having the subcommittee, I think it's so helpful on my end, and for us, it's great.
This has been, Bob, for like last year, and I know numbers, I was just like, huh? And we didn't even see, last year, we didn't even see what all the schools were asking for. So for all we knew, we're voting on this budget and the principals needed other things. This year, the subcommittee had the privilege of sitting down and looking at everything. And so we were going into this meeting and taking this vote, and it was just like, well, this is what's presented and this is what we're presenting. And we didn't realize there were other things until kind of after the fact. So, I mean, this was just such a better.
Farther ahead.
Yeah, this is just a much better process, I think, so.
Yeah, and likewise, the other subcommittee helps, I mean, it was helpful to see the scope, right? The scope that we were seeking to fund.
Yeah, I think the key for us next, and I think Mike might have mentioned, I wasn't sure, is to sit down and look at the dates of all these different groups that are meeting, CPAC, PTO meetings, the Educational Foundation, all of those, including, and then the town meetings and senior citizen meetings, or any of the organizations in town that we can think of, and find out when they're meeting and see if we can get on the agenda in the next couple
right, for the district improvement plan, yeah, so many people can spread the word.
But we have to be careful not to have a quorum in any of those meetings, right?
Not to have a quorum in any of those meetings that you were just talking about.
Right, we would, and Nancy and I would go, and then it's typically whoever, like tomorrow's meeting, I don't think you have to have.
Yeah, you can go, you just can't discuss or deliberate. in the
Deliberate.
audience.
We'd just be discussing
You can go and.
the plan that we've already been presented.
Yeah.
Because it was already presented.
Yeah.
It would just be more like, because people don't always watch the meetings, as you know, and then they're like, wait, what's this, what's going on? So getting in front of these small groups and giving a mini presentation, it's stuff we've already talked about and deliberated on, so I think there's no risk in that.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be everybody, I mean, you and I could go to one of the meetings if you have a group that you want to go talk to. Or we've talked before about getting into people's living rooms, I mean, if they want to host a coffee or a, whatever it is, to get in there and talk with people.
I think Harvard would be a great
Oh,
pot
yeah,
spot.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
Where we might have a lot of, we have a lot of people that potentially don't have children actively in the school
Yeah.
system and might want to learn.
And during the days there, yeah, there's.
It's cool stuff.
Anyone else? Ready to vote? In favor? Yes? All right, 6-0, passes. May I have a motion to approve policy JICA student dress?
So moved.
Julie?
A second.
Lori? Anybody like to say anything about this policy? All right, all in favor? Against? Motion passes 6-0. May I have a motion to approve policy AC, non-discrimination, including harassment and retaliation?
So moved.
Julie?
A second.
Lori? Anyone?
Yes, question.
Just,
So, in this policy, it references, it states application to any member of the school community. And I'm curious if somewhere within this policy or elsewhere, there is a legal definition of school community. I don't know what that means and who it includes.
So I'm noticing right now in the first reads, I think it's ACR, it's not the correct one. Hold on one second, I don't know if it's how different it is, I apologize.
There was two ACRs, one was a regulation and one was a
It
policy.
was a regulation, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one,
It was finally.
Like when you look at that, it goes right to the first.
Updated policy updated policy AC is the revised one policy for BBRSD.
Yeah, it still says school community.
yeah, the hyperlinks should work on this because I put those in here. If you're on the agenda, let me just see if I can find it that way. So if I go down.
It's already there.
Yeah, it's policy ACR. I don't know why it's connected like that. It should be policy AC. So I wonder if we should vote without that one in there because the incorrect one is in the drive.
All right, so there's a motion on the table to approve this. We should vote this down.
Yes, because it's not the correct one.
Oh, so AC was never on there. So the one we were reading was ACR.
ACR is a regulation. Does that say ACR or AC?
ACR.
No,
Yeah,
it's
ACR.
yeah, that's, yeah.
All right, so we'll vote this one down.
All right.
Could I, before we move
Yeah.
to do that, there was just one concern I had too. I guess later on they fill in the name of our school and stuff, but I want to make sure there's redundancy in who can be reported to. That there's more than one person that can be reported to in case that one person is.
Yeah, and these are the two policies that came from the attorney, correct? The policy and regulation, this one,
I do not know.
because this wasn't the standard MASC.
We didn't have a policy AC. We've never had one. And it looks like this one is labeled ACR. They're both labeled ACR. Well, I'm gonna have to go through and see what the difference is. We never had an AC.
All right, so we cannot approve the policy as it is in the draft, because it's not the correct policy.
Correct.
So, in favor of this one? None against?
Nay.
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 6, so we'll get that off and we'll fix that for next time. Is that by any chance the case with the others?
I think, I thought that was the only one that I saw.
The
The
other
one
one,
that
yes.
seemed.
Yeah.
And as per Jessica's question, I believe that was asked at the last meeting to there's 100 administrators, and I believe that they said that they did have it. You could report to somebody who was not, like, in case the perpetrator was the person you were reporting to. Do we, I think, is your question that do we have that in writing?
Yeah, because in that document, it labels two people to report to.
Mhm.
Okay. But it's different instances of, so, it's two different populations of
We'll
people
get
to
it
report
sorted out.
to. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll write that down.
We'll get it sorted out. May I have a motion to approve policy GBA, equal employment opportunity?
So moved.
Bob? Jess? Anyone? No questions? So in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, against? Passes. May I have a motion to approve policy GCF, professional staff hiring?
So moved.
Bob?
Second.
Julie? Anyone? In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. May I have a motion to approve policy JV, equal educational opportunities?
So moved.
Bob?
Second.
Jess? Anyone? In favor?
Aye.
Yes. Passes. May I have a motion to approve policy JFBB, school choice?
So moved.
Bob? Second?
Second.
Megan?
So
All right, discussion.
the one that's linked is JFBB 1 and not JFBB, so we need to vote this one down as well.
Yeah.
I had a question on this one as well. Did this change recently?
It's not the right policy.
Okay.
So basically, the policy that would be, this is JFBB 1, this says this is the policy of the school district not to admit non-residents.
Oh, yeah, I saw
Ours-
that. Oh, yeah.
Ours states it would always be the choice of the school committee upon recommendations, which is exactly how it's done every single year, so we weren't changing it to JFBBI.
Okay.
JFBB.
I also wanted to ask about timing, and it stated about reaffirming this policy on an annual basis no later than June 1st. And I wasn't sure when the last time we did that was and when we would be due to do it again. Or if this would count had we voted it today. It's like that document is no longer here. I'm not finding it, so I won't worry too much about it. We'll just wait for the right one to get the draft. We'll vote on it. So we gotta vote.
Favor? Yes?
Nay.
Nay.
Does not pass. Okay, may I have a motion to enter executive session to conduct negotiations with union personnel of the BPA and to review and approve executive session minutes from November 15, 2022 and December 6, 2022, and return to open session.
So moved.
Bob?
Second.
Megan? Your question?
I have a question. We didn't vote on any of the minutes.
We did the beginning.
We did.
That's the consent agenda,
Consent agenda.
the very beginning.
Can I ask a question? Everything was included in the drive, I double checked it. December 6th. So we went to an executive session, but we returned to. Executive session is not.
I understand.
What's the question? I can't hear you.
Sorry, so in the consent agenda, I apologize, I missed that, and I'll put it all of them. It lists here H, December 6th, open meeting minutes.
Yep.
Which is only the final minutes of the meeting.
There's the opening of the meeting, the board to go into executive session, the return to open session, and then the vote.
The motion.
It's just the public part.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I didn't see that in the drive anywhere.
It was there at 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Oh, I saw that.
I have noticed.
December 6th, open meeting.
Oh, you know what, Jessica, this used to happen to me when I was new.
So I also will say, Google is having major issues
I'm seeing that
today, as we
December
say.
6th, 2022, open meeting. Yeah, sometimes you don't have access to stuff, it just doesn't show up.
Yeah, because I saw December 8th meeting, so I didn't see December 6th.
Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So there's like 10 things in consent agendas. Do you see 10?
Well, so there was 5 folders that were, you know, the December 8th was existed, but there was no.
Fine, thank you.
It was great.
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
I almost was great.
No.
I almost was great. Sorry.
All right, so let's vote.
Yes,
There's,
we got.
yeah, because we gotta go to exec, this happened to me when I was new. Christy fixed it for me.